just to know what you knew. Restless every time we start locking eyes. Lost control. Oh, it's paradise with honesty, but I'm in the dead of the night. Let the darkness take control. Let the darkness take control. Darkness take control. May the darkness take control. Take me in the smoke, breathe me in and let me go. Sink to your heart to find you. Open up your eyes till you're blinded by the lies, so you can see what you do. Restless every time we start locking eyes. Lost control. Oh, it's paradise with honesty, but I'm in the dead of the night. Teardrops on the floor. The pain is over. Feel the darkness take control.
Oh my gosh, guys. It's officially time for the Ursiiday Pokemon Pocket Weekly number 33. That's actually insane. How far we are into the 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 weeklies. Like 33 is too many weeks, if I want to say so myself. But I am so excited for today. We're gonna get to watch so many fantastic games, and I'm so excited, especially because my awesome co-caster here with me today, Bricks, is going to be co-casting with me today. For you guys who don't know him, I don't really know how you don't. But he is a fantastic Pokemon Pocket competitor. He's even won an Ursiiday Pokemon Pocket Weekly himself, and he also does make content. He has a Twitch, a YouTube that you can subscribe to now and be one of the first people to subscribe, but he doesn't have any YouTube videos on it yet, as well as a Twitter. But Nabrix, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hello. As Ursi said, my name is Nabrix. You might recognize me as the Ursiday Pocket Weekly number 26 winner. Yeah, I never failed to mention it. But yeah, this week I'm not competing, not chasing my 2x win to join the likes of MST and Big C, the GOATs. But I'm
Mm-hmm.
here having the honor to co-cast alongside Ursi, the Ursiday Pocket Weekly number 33. I'm beyond excited. I am looking forward to the amazing players, the amazing 64 players who duked it out in the Swiss rounds yesterday, competing today for the crown. So I'm beyond excited, ready for some high level gameplay.
Yeah, it's gonna be so awesome. I love the decks currently. There's so many really fun decks. There's the Sylveon Greninja Giratina. There's a lovely little Eevee box. And as we were talking earlier, I just feel like Sylveon EX, even though you may not have gotten to play with her yet, Navrix, I just feel like she's so nice in these different decks where she is a third and fourth research. And in some of these decks, you can slot her in or other evolutions because once you put two Eevees in, you can evolve to any of them. Um,
Mhm. It is a very powerful card. I think the main thing about tournament decks and the key that it takes to win, I would know, you know?
true.
Anyways, is consistency. Consistency is key. You have a lot of decks like Incineroar, for example, that can do really well in ranked, especially with these win streaks, but consistency is key. So you want to be able to get through your 20 card deck as fast as possible. So having that extra research. There's a reason that supporters are limited to one per turn. It's because they're so strong. So Prof's effect, being able to do that 2 times in one turn is just incredible.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you can have upwards of like three professors' researches essentially with that Sylveon, which is kind of crazy. Even being able to like string together Sylveon EX ability into a Sabrina or into a Cyrus. It's just so nice to be able to pull off some of those game changing plays.
Mhm. Getting that stage 2 rare candy in your hand as fast as possible, it's scary, and sometimes it's too much to deal with. The opponent can't even do anything, even if they have a good hand and good answers.
Yeah, that reminds me especially of Charizard. You and I were talking about this earlier. And I think we even talked about it yesterday on stream. I mean, Charizard is so strong if you can get that candy. And so Sylveon really plays well into it. It's kind of sad to see like a 45% win rate, though.
Yeah, I think that's mainly because of the Oricorios that are running rampant right now. I think the only answer that Charizard really has to reliably deal with Oricorio is that baby Flareon, that flamethrower Eevee, or Flareon rather, that hits for 110 to just one shot. It's also 120 HP, so sometimes it can be hard to deal with. But if they don't get it online, commit their Eevees into Sylveons, it could be difficult to deal with that Oricorio.
Yeah, I feel like Sylveon is such an awesome pairing as well for Charizard because as we already have those EVs down, and then whereas a lot of times it felt like in the Charizard list, you couldn't put in a whole other attacker that wasn't an EX because it could be a basic that takes the active spot, or just there's not enough room in the deck. But with already a two line of EVs in there, a single Flareon's not bad to have.
100%. And the more evolutions you have in the deck, you have to think about which ones you actually want to evolve to, because you can run 2 EVs, but more than 2 evolutions. So you want to think about what you
Mm-hmm.
want to use, when you want to use it, when the best time is. It adds a little bit more skill expression to those decks for sure.
Um, And there's so many. I mean, it is awesome to see all these Sylveons, but we're also seeing a lot of, I don't say older decks come back from it but I know like there's even a Garchomp now that's seeing some play with the
Hmm.
Sylveon EX list.
Yeah, so Rampardos with that heavy damage attack, it's sometimes even if you can get your early Zards or your early big hitter Mons on the board, it can be too much to deal with as well. So Rampardos is definitely seeing a resurgence as well as the Garchomp list. Previously, it was just Garchomp Rampardos, but
Hmm.
now players are even putting in that Sylveon to get through that deck, get to those stage twos as fast as possible, and just roll the game. So it's really interesting to see.
Yeah, it's cool to see like some of these different like game plans open up with that. Uh, for some reason, I thought for a little bit we're seeing like Solgaleo with Sylveon as well, but it is only Shiinotic in our top 64. But
Hmm.
even Solgaleo is finally finding ways to deal with Oricorio, finally giving space in their list with interesting cards like you were mentioning earlier, like a Skarmory in Overlord's list.
Hmm.
So,
I think the biggest switch for the Solgaleo list is that they're including leftovers in it, which,
mhm.
if you didn't know, at the end of your turn, you heal 10 HP, which is how much Solgaleo takes when it attacks, that recoil damage. So getting back to 180 HP when you're passing that turn is really nice for Charizard
Oh
specifically,
yeah.
because Charizard's hitting for 150, 170 with weakness, so it can KO a Solgaleo if it's 170 HP. But if it gets back to 180, it can still live.
Yeah, even as like when I play Flareon, it's so much harder to like beat the Solgaleo. It feels like when you have leftovers because it's not just like you need red. Then you also
Mhm.
need one of your Eevee bags if you want to one shot. So obviously,
Right.
much easier as Charizard who actually just one shots at 170.
Definitely. Eevee Bag too, now that you mention it, oh, what a card. Being able to choose the ability to heal all your evolutions or getting extra damage, we were talking about how supporters are really strong. If you have red plus 2 Eevee Bags, you could be swinging in for plus 40 damage with one of the evolutions that you have, which is insane. It's crazy for point breaks and always something that you have to be worried about if you're facing that Eevee box deck.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really interested to see how Eevee Bag continues to play as well. Just because it's like any Pokemon who evolves from Eevee, which keyword evolves from. I continually try to heal my Eevees with the Eevee Bag, and uh, and increase the damage of my Eevees with the Eevee Bag. But Eevee's in the name. You would think it would work.
I mean, agree to disagree.
It's in the name. It's in the name. Like, how was Eevee like forgotten? How is Eevee forgotten by the Eevee bags? Like that's just tragic.
Like, it's just the Eevee bag, like, the design is an Eevee, and it's a bag, so, Eevee
Yeah,
bag,
so
like,
Eevee should get good things from it too.
well, the good things come when it grows, and it matures and evolves. It's a lesson, it's a life lesson there.
Oh no, not the life lessons. Oh no, that's a funny way to put
Yeah.
it though. But yeah, it is interesting sometimes seeing some of those like Eevee bag plays. When do you trade the heals for the damage? When do you know? When do you use them? Do you save them? Their dual use kind of makes it hard to save sometimes, and then later you really need it when you didn't expect it. But it's going to be really fun to see how these decks end up doing today. I know you had one deck you were keeping your eye on. Can you tell us about it?
Yes, the deck that I'm the most interested in is the Lucario Rampardos deck that we saw make top 64. This caught me by surprise because it's an old deck. We've seen it before. You have two Lucario lines, two Rampardos lines, Hitmonchan and Marshadow. The only new card that I believe is in the deck is Penny, which is interesting. I haven't watched this player play their game, so I don't know where that Penny comes in. Me personally, maybe an X speed is better or something like that. But I'm excited to see how this player does into the current meta. I found it really interesting that they brought this card back.
Yeah, we were talking about it earlier, and I was like, "Oh, cool, a Lucario list." I saw it last time. I was like, "Oh, cool, Lucario list." And then I clicked on it when we were talking. And I was like, "Wait, this is like the same deck that I remember like
Hmm.
MST ran one for with the tournament, minus I guess like one or two cards here. But what is Penny doing here? I don't believe in her. I'm gonna state it right now. I don't believe in her. Uh, Navrix did bring up a great point that maybe she has a place in a Silvally list, but I don't
Hmm.
understand it here. I just don't get it.
Right. Silvally, it's nice because sometimes you're in a spot with Silvally where if you want to activate it, you have to use your Sabrina, but you want to be attacking what's in front of you. So Penny guarantees a supporter activation to enable it to hit for 100 without, hopefully, not triggering a card of theirs that, messes up with your game plan. But yeah.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to see. But with that, is that the deck you would like to watch today?
Yeah, I'm excited to see that deck, so I think that's what I'd like to watch first.
Okay, perfect. So it looks like they're going to be in channel 24 in the Discord.
Okay.
Make sure he makes it to jump in there. Yep, okay. I don't know why, but the first time I enter any of these channels, it always boots me the first time.
Yeah, I saw that. Is the player streaming their game?
They should be in a second here. You're streaming your games. But hopefully they'll pop it up here. The judges did just give a go ahead for them. So let's see here, and then we'll hopefully get to watch this match. But really, really excited. It is going into a Guz Lord list. Are there any concerns that you have for this deck with its matchup?
Yeah, so Rampardos, I know Rampardos usually doesn't have a good matchup against these poison builds with Guzzlord because they have to attack, obviously. If they're swinging into a poison barb, they're getting poisoned, dealing that extra damage. And it also doesn't help out with Rampardos either because it deals that 50 knockback recoil damage to itself. So it could be difficult to overcome.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I guess like with Lucario, maybe it will be helpful in hitting like these like 170 breakers. Fingers crossed.
Yeah. I think Guz is seeing a resurgence. At the end of last season, the main build was just Guzzlord, Nihilego, Naganadel. Or, sorry, Guz, Nihilego, and Celesteela. But now we're seeing the Naganadel, which is really nice. I think it has a really good usage against Oricorios as well. It deals with it better than the Nihilego does. And it also is nice for getting just extra damage for 1 energy, which is really nice as well.
Perfect. And we do have the stream open. I told them they can start, so hopefully they'll be getting into their match here very shortly. Have you played the Guzzlord list too much? I haven't played it. I haven't played this version of it for sure. I played it the Celesteela version. But I always find it difficult getting up to that 4 energies, even though I'm seeing them consistently do it when I stream their games during the tournament.
Yeah, so the big key is that Lucamine and using it properly. So sometimes when you can swing in with your Nihilego to hit and get poison, even if you have only 2 energy on the board, sometimes that's not the best play. Sometimes you want to build up your Guzzlord a little bit and then guarantee that a Lucamine can get that 2 energy to get to that 4. So it really depends on the pace of the match, what the board state is, and what the opponent's doing.
That makes a lot of sense. We'll have to see how Harian and Pedron both pilot their decks. I'm really excited to get to watch a Lucario list again, but see how the Guzzlord does as well. I'm going to let them choose their first Pokemon, and then we'll get into the match here. Do you think you're going to play any Lucario Rampardos after the stream today?
I might. I don't know. We'll see how the player does and if he can change my mind, but I don't think that it's really that effective in the current meta. We'll see how this game goes if it proves me wrong, but I think it's a little too slow and unreliable. The problem with Rampardos is that you need to draw into it. You need to get your Skull Fossils. So that's why a lot of players are putting in Sylveon into their Garchomp lists to see if they can draw into it as fast as possible. But I understand the matchup. I understand the mentality as well. Getting that extra damage with Lucario does make a lot of sense.
Yeah, for sure. And it looks like Pedron is going to be going first here. Going to get the poison barb onto the Nihilego. So if Riolu attacks, they will go on to be poisoned. Definitely a little bit of a threat there with that poison barb.
An early poison barb is really scary. You have Nihilego in the front as well. There's no Celesteela on the board right now, so we'll see what can happen.
Yeah, and it looks like we do decide to attack into the Nihilego, and we're getting that 20 tick back onto us here. I mean, we could still KO next turn, I guess, but
Hmm.
doesn't feel
Yeah, with
great.
right. With Nihilego being fighting weakness, it actually does make a lot of sense to swing in. So it is two-shottable here.
Yeah, that'll be really nice. Um, oh man, I wonder if Pedron's not gonna find a Celesteela. I feel like it's so important with, I mean, any of these Ultra Beasts like lists to find their Celesteela. And we're
Hmm.
hard retreating actually to protect the point.
Yeah, so that's not something you typically want to see, but discarding the energy does mean that it is in that discard pile, so it could be loose immutable. So you
Mm-hmm.
do get that poison tick on the Riolu. We'll see. Puts the Skull Fossil down. Retreats out to get rid of that poison. Comes in with the new Riolu. So
Yeah.
having the two there is really nice because you can choose which one you want to swing in with, which one you want to save to get to that Lucario to get that extra damage. So
Yeah, it makes a
yeah.
lot of sense, especially when you're having to. I mean, it would have essentially knocked it out to swing into it, but now we can protect that Lucario on the bench, especially if we can find the Lucario in the first place.
Mhm.
But I wonder. I mean,
A big
obviously,
thing Yeah, a big thing about these poison builds as well is that if they get that chip damage and then retreat, they're now Cyrusable, right? So you have to be able to deal with that. If you have no healing in your deck, it could be difficult to overcome.
that makes it. Yeah, that makes sense. And Cyrus is so scary, and there is going to be one Cyrus in Pedron's list. He does have to poke away at a lot from Pokemon. It is a 1 point deck. But let's we're gonna go on and pass back to the Riolu here. Ooh, what an early Rampardos! Because we can go and retreat back to Rampardos, and we found a Lucario. That's gonna go and be a 2 point knockout.
You hate to see it. That Lucario is going to make it so that it is 150 damage.
Oof. Hate to see it. I thought this was the deck you wanted to watch.
Well, I sympathize with the Guz Lord, I'm a Guz Lord player. I've played it
Oh
before, but
no, oh no.
something about Rampardos just really grinds my gears. But yes, I did want to see how this player does, and it's working out really well for him. I'm being proven wrong here.
Um, it sounded like you've been running a lot of fighting lists. So are you? Have you not? What do you think about Guz Lord? I guess I should say.
Yeah, I mean, like versing Guzzlord, you're saying?
Uh, Playing Guzzlord right now in the current meta, or in this situation as a fighter, a fighting deck aficionado.
Yeah. Yeah. So with the fighting decks with Rampardos builds, it's definitely not an easy matchup to navigate. But in terms of Guzzlord, I think it actually is really nice. I was playing a lot of it at the end of last season, and now it's seeing this resurgence with this new Naganadel list. So I think it does definitely has a place in the meta as well. 170 HP. It's not one shot to a Charizard without red, so it could be difficult to overcome.
That makes a lot of sense. Maybe it's got a good spot, and I mean, it doesn't really matter the TRG effect into the Rampardos. But if, oh my God, there's the second Lucario. That's going to be
Ooh.
170 damage by this Rampardos. But Petron will get a point before the game's over this way. Is that toxic to say?
But that will be the end of the game
Yeah.
with the two Guzzlords down. Wow.
That's, I mean, awesome showing by Harian. I'll let them get set up for game 2, but that looked really strong.
Yeah, that was actually really crazy. I think the Celesteela not having it there to be able to switch out kind of mattered, but in the end, you were able to get the two with the Rampardos with the two Lucarios. It's kind of hard to manage that actually. I'm being convinced live in real time. Wow, okay.
Oh no. Oh no, oh no. I mean, that's good. I mean, yeah, you were like, I don't think it works, and now you're like, maybe I think it's good. That's a
Mhm.
really quick turnaround.
Yeah, okay. I'm kind of results oriented here. But yeah, I'm interested to see where the Hitmonchan and the Marshadow come in as well. So that was just a game dominated by this earlier Rampardos getting Lucarios
Mm-hmm.
up, and now we have a Hitmonchan start.
This will be really interesting to see. I mean, I think Hitmonchan's a really cool card in this deck, especially with Lucario. It can do so much damage. Obviously, we don't really have Sudowoodo being seen play anymore, but it
Mhm.
looks like Pedron is going to be starting with that Celesteela. obviously you don't want to start Guz Lord, but it is nice not to have that, a fighting weakness in the active spot like how Nalago has.
Definitely. And then at any moment in time, because usually you want to swing in with Nihilego, let it die, so that you can have the energy that you can Lusamine to the Guzzlord. But in this case scenario, since you're going up against the fighting deck, it does have that weakness. It could be one shot.
Yeah, that doesn't sound good at all. And we found a really early not skull fossil, whatever fossil that is. You think I know since I'm so old, I'm like related to all the fossils, but oh, nice. Okay,
It is a skull
Lucario.
fossil.
Oh, it is skull fossil. It doesn't look like a skull, but that being said, we do have early Lucario, and we could swing for 50 because of it.
Yeah, that early damage with Hitmonchan makes a lot of sense. I've seen builds that have Hitmonlee as well to be able to hit anything in the back, but having the Hitmonchan here makes a lot of sense as well.
Yeah, I feel like Hitmonchan synergizes better with the Lucario since Lucario is like active spot Pokemon only, right? So really interesting to see. Does look like we're gonna pass though, so I guess we're a little bit afraid of that poison barb on Celesteela.
So it looks like we're trying to stall as long as we can to be able to get that Rampardos online. Don't have it set up yet, but not sacrificing damage on that Hitmonchan, needing it to retreat, preventing the opponent from getting a free first point.
Let's see here. I'm interested to see if we'll actually see the Marshadow this game, or not. I definitely feel like against a poison deck, it could be risky to play Marshadow just because you don't know, right? If you're going to get knocked out by the poison tick or an actual attack, and if it's by the poison tick, Marshadow doesn't feel great at only 40 damage.
Exactly. And the thing is, Marshadow has to be the second Mon that goes in after you lose your first Mon, because it only activates when it has that revenge KO damage, but you don't want it to be the third Mon you bring in because it only has 80 HP. It's pretty flimsy. At that stage of the game, they probably have their Mon set up to be able to one-shot it, so you want it to be the second Mon that comes in.
That makes a lot of sense. When we draw Giovanni, I'm trying to think of how, like, if Giovanni can really, guess, help in this matchup or not. Maybe in Celesteela, but I don't think so.
Yeah, in this specific matchup, I don't think there are any point breaks that Geo would help with here.
I guess it does help though with like Leafeon and Sylveon, and Pokemon like that. Assuming you don't have that Lucario set up.
Right. So attaching energy to the fossil here, just prepping for that Rampardos. Still sitting, still waiting.
It feels like we're, yeah, like, as you said, we're sitting and waiting, but we're kind of saying like, yeah, bring out your Guzzler whenever you want. We'll deal with whatever you put forward because they're not really going to be sitting here attacking with Celesteela more than likely.
We see the Mars, so that sitting and waiting, trying to draw into the card that we need is interrupted here.
Yeah, and it does put rare candies back in the deck. I hold my tongue. It appears when I say that. Like Pokeball for Marshadow, and I think we like essentially have, an option for every single basic in our deck right now. Let's see what we.
Yeah, but because it is that waiting game, yeah, like as you said, you're building up that energy on the Guzzlord. It could be coming into swing for 120 very soon, aka like next turn. So our player here at the bottom is trying to figure out how he wants to play around this.
Yeah, and it looks like we are gonna go in and power up Marshadow. Looks like we're planning to, use, as you said, our second attacker, and then we can follow up with a Rampardos who should be able to KO if Guz Lord has already done, had 100 damage into it.
One thing I like about Guzzlord as well is with that Lusamine. Ooh, we see the Sabrina here. With that Lusamine, if you can play what I like to call a double Guz game, where you can go in with one Guzzlord, Lusamine to the second one, you don't need to come in with any Nihilego, any Naganadel. You could just be two Guzzes doing all of the attacking. And Lusamine makes that possible. We see the Sabrina here. Player opted to put in the Lucario. Most likely going to see Marshadow to get that revenge damage.
Yeah, I would be worried putting. I don't think there's another option than putting in the Lucario, but definitely a second Guzzlord could be really scary. Now that I've already
Mhm.
lost one of them. There's a Riolu, but we should be
So the
swinging.
player has an option here. He can swing in with the Rampardos or swing in with the Marshadow. The Marshadow does have that revenge KO damage right now, so it would be swinging in for 100. Decides to swing in here.
Let's see. Yeah, he does just choose to with that second energy. I mean, I guess he could still retreat, but I would assume that's a commitment.
Mhm. So now with one prize point gone, the Marshadow most likely going to be taken out soon. It all leaves it to the Rampardos. So we do see the retreat.
Yeah, we have already used Sabrina though, and there is no damage on anyone on the bench. So we won't, or Pedro really won't be able to use that Cyrus more than likely. Kind of interesting to see the retreat back with the Marshadow. I would have thought that we would have just attacked with Marshadow there.
Yeah, it makes sense. I think he's trying to follow up with the Marshadow later, but the Celesteela is 120 HP, so if we get that second Lucario on the bench, the Marshadow could be swinging in for 120. The problem is if the Rampardos gets taken out by its own recoil,
Mm-hmm.
the Marshadow wouldn't activate, right?
Yeah, and no one be able to swing for 100. On the other
Mm-hmm.
side, if you attack with Marshadow first, even if they poke one Center Lady, it would only be at 100. So then it would still be in range of a Rampardos. I kind of feel
Mm-hmm.
like the correct play was just attack with Marshadow, but didn't make it a top 60.
Yeah, with that 2 retreat cost as well, the Rampardos is not leaving the active spot.
That is for sure. Um, but I guess if you got Lucario right now, Hitmonchan does swing for 50.
Mm-hmm.
But we're gonna swing for 130 there, and it is gonna KO the Rampardos. And both players are gonna be going to 2 points here.
Mm-hmm. So now if our Guzzlord player has the Lusamine, Guzzlord can swing in because you'd be attaching 2 energy and then attaching the 1 energy for turn, and that KOs all of the Mons on the board right now. Looks like we'll see it if they're putting the Guzzlord up in the active. Not that it matters with Celesteela, they can switch around whatever they need. But yeah, if that Guzzlord gets that 4 energy and starts swinging in for 120, there's no Mon that could deal with it. We see the prof. No Lusamine.
Oh, yeah, so no loose mean. We do survive another turn, but you're only swinging for 40 here. We don't need it for 1 turn. We need it for like 2 turns and more, potentially.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Maybe we could Sabrina, I guess, somewhere, but again, we're only doing 40 here without a Lucario.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if we're Sabrinaing, they most likely just bring out their Celesteela because it could tank for a bit, rather than sacrificing a point on the Nihilegos here. So we're gonna see our Grindcore.
Hmm.
The Grindcore can be scary, getting rid of that energy on the Marshadow.
Yeah.
Lucario takes 2 energy to attack, Marshadow also takes 2, so we'll see. We'll see how many heads are flipped here.
Wait, are they just? It looks like we're not attacking, and we pass, but with time. We do hit a research ourselves, so we could hit multiple things here. Looks like we do hit a skull fossil, but we are gonna need to find another Rampardos and a candy if we want to be able to attack. I mean, attack the Guzzlord, but you know,
Mhm.
a little bit concerned about how much health it may have when we attack it. Um.
Right.
Oh, and
And
there's
there it
Ursiiday.
is. Just like that.
And we're going
Interesting
for
that the opponent
MVP.
didn't decide to attack. That was interesting, but got the Lusamine, able to finish up the game just like that. 3 points. Moving on to the next game.
Yeah, and now who makes it to top 32 will rely on this last match. It is a best of 3, and they're currently 1-1. Uh, wait. We still haven't seen the penny yet. I want to see what
Mm-hmm.
happens when the penny, when the penny happens.
If it hits Lusamine, that would be the saddest thing.
It would be, yeah, it would be for sure.
But yeah, game 3, tournament life on the line.
Dun dun dun. Looks like we're gonna get into our third match here. Who will end up winning? Let's see.
Mm-hmm. So the Rampardos player took game 1, Guz Lord player took game 2. If you're a believer in momentum, the Guz Lord player could be feeling good right now. They could feel pretty pumped that they got that dub last game. And we'll see how confidently they make their plays going into this game here.
So we're gonna give it a second, and yep, we're gonna have the game 3 up. It is Naligo in the active spot again. I would be a little bit concerned, but Celesteela will be able to move this Naligo wherever it pleases with just the use of Ultra Booster. I think something like that.
Ultra Thrusters, yep.
Ultra Thrusters.
Yeah, so Rampardos player has the Hitmonchan, has the Skull Fossil down. Getting that early Skull Fossil is huge.
Oh yeah.
Getting that Rampardos as early as possible. So we'll see. Opponents thinning through the deck. Looks like they don't have any other basics. Probably would have played it down. So they're choosing to put the Celesteela up so that the Nihilego doesn't take any damage and adds Rocky Helm to it to get that extra chip as well.
Yeah, it's gonna be really nice if because otherwise this Hitmonchan could have literally been doing 70 next turn if we can find a Lucario here. There is the stage 1 evolution for Cranidos and a Lucario. So very nice save by Pedron moving that Naligo to the bench.
Mm-hmm. And using the Rocky Helm too. Rocky Helm is a relatively new addition to these Guz Lord decks because you already have the Poison Barbs, right? But sometimes it feels very committal to put a Poison Barb on a Celesteela when it's not going to be the one in the active spot swinging. So having that Rocky Helm on it means you can save your Poison Barbs for the other guys.
Let's see. Yeah.
Second Nihilego down. Wow.
Oof. I'm
The Nihilego is going to be swinging in.
But because of the poison, it's gonna go on and be a 0.1 for Pedron. I was like, what are we doing? But it makes complete sense. Going to grab that point.
Right. The second Nihilego makes it so that it's actually dealing that 60 total. But now we see the Revenge KO with the Cranidos as well.
Is another Riolu. Energy onto the Cranidos will allow for KO without the recoil, which is going to be really nice here.
And now opponent doesn't have any energy on the board. They don't have Guz Lord on the board. So we'll see what they can do with a Lusamine.
Yeah, they must have something, I would think, with them putting the Naligo up instead of Celesteela, but it is their turn, so we can still move it. I don't know, I feel like Celesteela is such an interesting card because a lot of times you're like, oh, you make like a mistake of who to promote when, and it can be really capitalized on. But in the case of Celesteela, it doesn't do anything. You just move the Ultra Beast back to the bench and swap it with whoever you need. So not too big of a deal there. I both want to see more like switch cards in pocket, and I also don't want to see it at all. I don't know what boat I'm in yet. I don't know what boat I'm in.
Yeah, I think Celestial is really interesting too. You have to be careful with how much you tank with it too. Because if it takes too much damage, it could be a Cyrusable threat later in the game to finish off the game. So early game, you do have to think about where that early damage chip will be. If it's on a Mon that you're most likely going to give up anyways, like Nihilego. Ooh, we get the Moonbaton flip.
Oh my god. I didn't expect that for sure. And there's no energy on the board right now for Harian, which could definitely put us in a bit of a pickle here.
So now with that energy, if Celesteela flips another heads, takes out all the Mons that can be on the board here. You have Riolu at 60, Lucario at 100.
Let's see. I mean, 40, but let's see
And
what.
Harrigan here does only have 1 point, right? So
Yeah, so we
they
can
can
knock out
afford
both.
to give up, yeah, the Celesteela.
It would do
Swings in
40
for
there.
40 here.
Will we hit the Moon Baton?
I'm feeling a Moomaton, I'm not gonna lie.
2 in a row? I don't know.
I think
2 in a row
I
to
see
me.
it. I see the vision. I see the vision.
Let's see, let's see. Uh, will I believe that's what's going to come down here. We are obviously going to still want a Lucario next turn because otherwise we could be, we'll just be able to be finished off by the Deligo. There is Penny, there is research. There's still a chance that we find our Lucario now.
Hmm.
Oh,
We do
yeah,
still have
Tails.
one more Skull Fossil. Ooh, there's the tails. We still do have one more Skull Fossil. There it is.
Mm-hmm.
In the deck, so we can try to build it up, but I think we're not in time. The Nihilego has one energy on it. Gets
Pardos.
attached one
Ooh.
more. Ooh. One more and it could start swinging in.
Do you retreat here to Lucario or do you just attack and finish off the Celesteela?
You would have to retreat because the Nihilego can just revenge KO.
Exactly. Like you need to protect yourself here. It feels like.
Hmm.
Obviously, we're still in range of a Cyrus, which is not good, but seems like our only option right now.
Yeah, so Lucario does have that 2 attack cost, but it also has a 2 retreat cost. So even if we do get Rare Candy Rampardos next turn, we can't retreat into it and KO. So the Guzzler player is opting to swing in with the Nihilego here, which,
There's
ooh,
Cyrus.
there it is.
Ouch, for sure, but that is going to be the last game between Pedron and Harian. Sadly, no more Lucario Rampardos for the tournament. What were your final feelings on the deck?
I think, to be honest, the first games that I was tuning into of this deck, kind of an unfortunate matchup, to be honest with you. I
Mm-hmm.
think the power of it was showcased in that first game where you can get early Lucario, you can get early Rampardos, and you can roll the game. But that's kind of the name of the game for any Rampardos deck, right? If you get a Rampardos early, you can win. But against the poison build, it's a bit difficult. Understandable, understandable.
Yeah, definitely understandable. Are there any other matchups you're interested in watching before we go digging for what's still playing?
Nothing in particular. Let me see.
It looks like there's a Tapu Koko still playing, and I mean their game 2 finished 7 minutes ago, so I don't know how far they are into their match.
Mhm.
But it looks like we could hop to channel 22 and try to get one there.
Sure, sounds good.
Perfect. Get that game up as quickly as possible here, guys.
Yeah, so it looks like our Tapu Koko player has 2 Oricorios on the board with Tapu Koko as well, 1 energy on each on the bench. And the player up top is running Giratina, Sylveon, Tapu Lele. So we see 2 Sylveons on the board, Tapu Lele and Giratina in the back as well. So we'll see what our opponent can do here. We have the 2 Oricorios, so the only thing that could do damage to them is the Tapu Lele. We'll see how the Giratina Sylveons can deal with it. So we're attaching energy to the front Oricorio. Nothing on the board right now. Can swing in except for that Tapu Koko, though.
Yeah, Oricorio is so interesting in situations like, I mean, obviously it's good because, in my opinion, it does keep like the meta and how you do deck building really healthy. But Hosey needs to get the Tapu Lele up, and but it can only hit based on how many energies are on the Pokemon, which means it can't even one-shot really these Oricorios.
Hmm. Yeah, so common strategy when versing that Tapu Lele is to just discard energy. You don't need to attach more energy than you need to swing in, especially since Tapu Koko EX later on can just swing in and charge itself later. So just swinging in with this Oricorio, not having to attach any energies, nice.
Let's see here. Yeah, they do get the Tapu Lele up. Let's see what they end up attacking.
Yeah, they need to deal with these Oris, so I would expect an attack on this Ori here swinging for 40, doing 20 per energy.
Ooh, but they go
Ooh,
for
swings in
the
on
Tapu
Tapu
Koko.
Koko.
I'm gonna quickly check. I mean, Posey is running one Cyrus. I don't know if he's already used it or not. But
Mhm.
let's see.
Yeah, so putting that cape on the Tapu Lele means that it can't be two-shot by the Oricorio that deals 50 damage, but it can be dealt with in 2 Tapu Koko hits because the first attack does 20, the second one does 90, but you don't want to bring your Tapu Koko in before you need to. The Giratina doesn't have the energy to swing in, but yeah, attacking the Tapu Koko most likely means that they have that Cyrus that they want to use.
Yeah, that's my assumption as well. I can't see the exact number on the Giratina number, how many energies it has though, but I would assume it's pretty well set up if everything else is already getting those psychic energies.
The
Um,
Giratina only has 1 energy right now,
oh
actually,
really?
so
Oh no! I was hoping there's like a 5 on it, and it was just
right.
condensed in, but
Mhm. Not set up just yet. Swinging in on this
ooh.
Tapu Lele has 60 HP, but let's see what the opponent here with his Giratina with only 1 energy can do.
Yeah, I don't know what we're really hoping for. It's setting up a second Arceus now as well. I mean, we'll be able to swing for 50. It does look like we are putting up Giratina EX. As you said, only 1 energy on it, so we're just going to be kind of sitting here, at least for a turn, figuring out what to do. I wonder if we have like a Dawn, and maybe you could like Dawn up an energy. There is a Dawn in T-Man's list. But we're actually going to the other Oricorio.
Yeah, so the Sabrina here, not only does it mean that we're bringing in an Oricorio that doesn't
There's our
have energy
Cyrus.
in. Ooh.
Ooh. And that
Ooh. Oh, okay. Sylveon with 40 HP.
we're retreating back to the Oricorio, and that's game.
Nice. What I was about to yap about was that the fact that you're bringing in the Oricorio with no energy means that it needs energy to retreat, but it also means that the Oricorio that has the 2 energy is stuck on the bench and has no way to get rid of that energy, which is exploitable with that Tapu Lele. But in the end, got that Cyrus, able to kill that Sylveon EX and take the game.
Yeah, fantastic job by T-Man. Honestly, just, calmly continuing their match, even when it feels like maybe, I feel like once you see the damage on your Tapu Koko, you're like, oh no, what do I do? They probably have Cyrus in hand. It does look like there's still one more player waiting to finish here. I'm going to quickly check to see how that's going. Is it already done or not? No, here it is. It looks like they started game 2 about 12 minutes ago. So my assumption is they'll be done shortly here. Tapu Koko has continued. We have Buzzwole in our top 32 still. Multiple Buzzwole, actually. Obviously, I keep wanting to say Buzz Lord for some reason, but it's Guz Lord.
Mhm.
Charizard, obviously, our Sylveon list. We have some Silvalies. Turtonator Flareon has continued. I don't know. I think it's going to be an interesting top 32 here. Do you know what matches you're going to want to watch next round?
Yeah, I think I'd want to tune into that Turtonator Flareon. I did try out that is one deck that I was able to try out because I got playable copies of Flareon, and I thought it was really solid. Um, but I want to see how it's played at the highest level here. Being able to combust and attach energy to Flareon at pivotal moments. You have the discard from the Turtonator. I'm interested to see how it does at this point in the meta.
Um, Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see for sure. Uh, the one thing I found really interesting, which is kind of dumb, is like I feel like so last week Flareon and Turtonator made it to top two, made it to finals, and
Hmm.
then obviously a Flareon list has been really strong this week with Leafeon, but people have been putting Flareon Turtonator as, you know, very low tier when we're talking about the deck. But here we are seeing it in top 32 again. I mean, I
Hmm.
don't know if it's just very well, it is built well for tournaments compared to ranked, or what is causing that change, like difference in people's feelings with that deck.
Yeah, I think a lot of the time, if you don't get early Kioways and you're down on energy, it does suck, right? You have to manually attach the Turtonator to be swinging in. You're only swinging in for 90 as well. It is an Ori counter in that way, but being able to manage your energy in a way where you can combust to get that energy on Flareon while also not being Cyrusable, right? Like a lot of Greninja Cyrus out there. So if you have damage on that Flareon after combusting, it's a Cyrusable target unless you're able to heal it with that Eevee bag, but it requires a lot of pieces to be together in order to actually be in a comfortable position.
Um, yeah, I can see that for sure. I can see that for sure. We'll have to see how some of these continue to do. We're still waiting on that last game by Sneak and uh, Bestiari. It's a
Mhm.
Leafeon EX Flareon EX with Baby Leafeon versus a Silvally Oricorio. To Oricorio. So definitely can see how that matchup could take a bit of time here.
For sure, yeah. So that baby Leafeon is in there just for that Oricorio counter, dealing 90 damage, also can attack on its next turn after it's used, but the deck runs fire energy. So in order to get grass energy on that baby Leafeon, you need to have your Leafeon EX as well. So that's two of your EVs already used up. Then everything else you got left over is Flareons, Sylveons. So you're probably using a Sylveon to get through it. It's really interesting the way that you have to think about which evolutions you want to evolve your EVs to.
Yeah, I really enjoy it. I think there's a lot of like fun plays you can do with it. And there is a Dawn in the list, so like normally you would have to have like your Leafeon EX in the active, and then attach back to a baby Leafeon. But in this case, if you already have some grass on Leafeon X, you can go in and Dawn that up. Uh,
Hmm.
I'm like half tempted for us to go watch it since it's taking some time. But the moment that we get there, it will be over. So actually, it just finished. So, did you have a deck you wanted to watch for top 32? 32? My bad.
Um, Let me take a look. If there's anything that you're interested in, by all means, go ahead.
Hmm. I always love the Eevee box, but I assume we're going to see it further into the tournament as well. I might be interested in watching the Solgaleo Shinotic list that is also running. Oh, what the one Skarmory.
True. Yeah, I would be down to watch that game as well.
Perfect. Let me try to find the thing it's in. Um, let's see here. It is. We might
Yeah, I'm
do
trying to
a different
trying to
one
find
for
it as
this
well.
game if that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
Uh, let's see here. Maybe I actually would like to see maybe the Tapu Koko from the beginning. It's going against a Buzzwole Pheromosa. Um,
Hmm.
but
Yeah.
and that's gonna be. I mean, we're already in channel, I guess, with T-Man, so
Hmm.
we can just continue on with this point of view.
Yeah, sounds good. With Tapu Koko Arceus versus Buzzwole, I was not a big fan of Arceus in a Buzzwole meta because of Pheromosa, right? Like if you're
Mm-hmm.
able to tag that Arceus on the bench, because you don't want your Arceus in the front, you want to have it on the bench to be able to build up the energy. But that means it is Pheromosable, which is then Cyrusable. So I wasn't the biggest fan of Arceus when Buzzwole was taking over everything else.
Yeah.
So we'll see how this game goes.
Do you think that Arceus has a place in Tapu Koko list?
I I see it. I see the vision. I haven't tried the deck that much as well, and I haven't played Tapu Koko in general that much. I always felt that 20 damage to charge itself, following up with 90 is pretty underwhelming, but I understand that if you're charging yourself there, you can invest more energy into Arceus as well, and then you're building up your bench with your other mons, so there is synergy in that way.
I can see that, yeah. Zero Aura is so interesting having that, like, well, not even Zero Aura, I don't know if they have Zero on this list, but like Tapu Koko being able to power itself up to like its second attack does
Mhm,
seem really strong. And then I do believe Zero Aura is played in a lot of these lists, and its ability of just like being played turn one, getting energy is so interesting. I think it's like the first one of its type in Pokemon Pocket. Um,
mhm.
it's interesting to see how they're choosing these like different ways to generate energy than just obviously hand attaching from the energy zone.
Yeah, the strong cards are the ones that help you thin through your deck or ramp energy. Those ones being able to expedite that process for you to have a one up on your opponent are the ones that are really, really important.
Yeah, that makes it is yeah, like energy is I felt like always a problem with fighting lists as like an example, right? Like we saw there's like not enough energies to have all these attackers going and versus like having it self generate by your Pokemon just being in on the board on turn one. It can just be
Hmm.
so strong.
Definitely. And yeah, fighting doesn't really have energy ramp outside of Brock, I guess, but that's not playable. So fighting
That's
is
true.
missing out on it. So
I mean, Golem did well for one tournament. It could be a thing.
one and then never seen again. A one hit wonder.
That was kind of crazy in the fact that it's just like never reappeared. Because like
Hmm.
it was, I don't even think it made like top cut the next week. So
But yeah. I
then
mean, the biggest thing about like these electric builds with, your Oricorios, your Zero Auras is there is a lot of fighting out there. So that's why Tapu Koko can be pretty scary. Like if you go up against a Rampardos, it's not looking great, but we'll see.
yeah, well, let's see what they decide to do here for this game. We are just getting started, and it looks like T-Man is starting with Tapu Koko, and Mateo is starting with Celesteela. We're definitely going to find Zero Auras on T-Man's side, and Master Mateo is going to want to fill out his bench as well, though he doesn't have, I mean, he can't attack this turn just yet, so not too much concern if we put it on this turn or next turn, especially since everything is a
Mhm.
basic in his list.
Yep. And with Celesteela being a flying type, it means that it has that electric weakness.
Oh,
So
true.
we'll see if
That's
this
not the
Tapu Koko
flying
swings
type?
in on it. Yeah, it's flying steel.
That's crazy.
Hmm.
Crazy.
Yeah,
Um,
so it has that lightning weakness. So if this Tapu Koko is swinging in on it, it will be doing 40 damage as opposed to just 20.
yeah, that makes a lot of sense and sounds scary. I'm surprised we didn't retreat back to like the Kartana or something like that on Master Mateo's side instead of risking this 40 damage here. Looks like we are gonna research first, trying to increase chances of hitting, the Zero Auras. We get one, and then we can Pokeball second. Uh, two Zero Auras. Not
We just have
surprised.
all the energy here.
All the
Wow, okay.
energy. Um, and we are going to attack for 40, but there's going to be two more energies on Team Man's side. Really, really nice to get those going, especially there's Dawn sitting around in this list, and things like that can help, which can help us accelerate those energies to whichever attacker we want later in the game.
Total of 4 energies on the board versus the Buzzwole's 1. It's crazy. That Plasma Hurricane being able to charge itself, plus this Thunderclap Flash. With Dawn's available as well, we have a lot of energy to work with here.
Yeah, for sure. Looks like we do find a Pheromosa as well on Mateo's side. Looks like we are retreating back to the Kartana though, since we tapped energy there, and that's me 40 damage on the Tapu Koko.
Swinging in for 40, but now because we charged that ourselves last turn, we have 3 energy to just swing in for 90.
Yeah, what are you supposed to do when it's, already up to 3 energies on its second turn and KOing the first mon? I mean, Pheromosa could do 20 damage, I guess, and it's safe. if you get a Leaf Cape, but there's not really another attacker that's ready to go.
Yeah, it's really tough. Tapu Koko in the active spot going second, guaranteeing that charge. It's really hard to deal with.
Looks like we are going to have electrical cord attached to the Tapu Koko. I'm going to quickly check here. Mateo is running a Guzma though, so if he decides to use Guzma before the Tapu Koko gets KO'd, that could be really nice as well from Mateo's side.
But there, that Kartana is down now. So with our Tapu Koko player taking a point, it means that energy is now loose-amenable for our Buzzwole player. We'll see how he manages. He only has that one discarded energy from the Kartana. We'll see what he does. But yeah, now the Celesteela is 80 HP. If it stays up front, it would be KO'd. Without that Leaf Cape on the Pheromosa, it is also KO'able. Opponent Mars is.
Okay, let's see what we draw off of that. Like at least one Oricorio and a Giovanni. But yeah, Master Mateo, I feel like definitely needs to retreat back his Celesteela because I don't feel like if there's in a Buzzwole list, you want to lose those lose that Pokemon. Pheromosa is in the active. It'll be able to do 20, but that's kind of all.
And the Buzzwole player is only running that one Leaf Cape, committing it to the Buzzwole, which makes a lot of sense. So now we have this Tapu Koko up front, staring down this Pheromosa. Buzzwole versus Oricorio is interesting too because you have to give up your single prize point Mons early to be able to Lucamine, otherwise you're just naturally building up energy on the Buzzwole. But then you need to Moonbaton with the Celesteela, if that's the only Mon you have left that's the non-EX, to be able to actually do damage. So it could come down to coin flips if we see Oricorio in play.
Yeah, that sounds like a worry what you're expressing here. Like, and it's definitely a realistic problem to think about here since T-Man is running 2 Oricorios in their list. We're able to do 50 here, and it's probably going to keep, or will keep that Tapu Koko safe because you can't Lucamine and Cyrus in the same turn. But man, that would be strong if so. Looks like Buzzwole is coming to the active now. Yeah, there's a Lucamine, which does.
And we did see it with the hard retreat as well to be able to get that discarded energy. So now Lucamine swinging in for 120. Now we have a 170 HP tank in the front that we have to deal with to win the game.
Let's see. I mean, if they have Cyrus, it could potentially just be a game over here. It looks like we kind of see that threat and decide to put the Tapu Koko up into the active spot. It does look like we're going for an Oricorio though as well.
So now we're retreating with that energy because we can't have our Tapu Koko staying up front there. Attaching energy to the Oricorio and Dawning. Okay.
So we would have seen
from the Zero Aura
damage here. There is a Sabrina as well in Mateo's list though, so we could see a Sabrina around if they decide to play the card.
So now we don't have the energy we need on Tapu Koko to swing in for 90. We have the Oricorio here. Cyrus, it's game over, but it doesn't look like the opponent has it considering they're thinking about what they want to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I would feel like if they had Cyrus, they'd just go on and like slam it down here. They have both their Celesteelas set up so they can reset up Buzzwole at any time. Rocky Helmet's going on to the Pheromosa. And I mean, I'm assuming we're just going to see Ultra Thrusters again. Maybe that's not going to be the case since Oricorio's in the active.
So now, since T-Man only has 1 point already, he can afford to just get one more with this Pheromosa here. So it most likely swings in, maybe getting extra damage on the other Tapu Koko as well. Because I think the play that the Buzzwole player is playing for now is just that Cyrus. If you are able to get both Tapu Kokos in Cyrusable range, then with any other healing, they would have to choose which one they want to heal.
So we're taking some extra time to think it through. 4 seconds left. I mean, I'm assuming Mateo wants to attack here, but it looks like, oh, we get the jump blues off right at the last moment.
Okay. Swinging in on that Tapu Koko, the weakened one. Makes sense. A Cyrusable play is a Cyrusable play. So we're just hoping that we can get it before it spirals out of control here. We do have that second Ori, but we placed that Tapu Koko down on the bench, so there's no space right now for it. We'll see.
Looks like we're thinking about putting that second energy back onto a Tapu Koko, the one basically fully powered up here. I don't think it's a huge concern to attack into the Pheromosa, just because like if we do, we go to 30, but nothing that could knock us out at 50, nothing that could knock us out at 30 health couldn't knock us out at 50 health.
Yeah, so now we see both of those prize points taken. We only have Celesteelas and Buzzwoles to work with. If we see the Cyrus, it's game over. If not, we can try to kill the Celesteelas for our third point. We don't even have to worry about the Buzzwole. We'll see what happens here.
There's Sabrina. We should be able to survive this a turn because there is no Eevee Bag for the Ultra Beasts. So Tapu Koko can get put up and then we retreat back, I presume, to the Oricorio.
So with that Sabrina used, Tapu Koko is the best option here because it doesn't die to that 120 damage. With the double Celesteals as well, they can reset for Ultra Thrusters, so that's not a problem. So we'll see. Attaches energy to the Buzzwole.
Yeah, they get it down to 10 health. Ouch, just out of range. And it looks like we're going to see the retreat back to Oricorio. I mean, all Mateo needs to do is hit a Cyrus, and this very well could be game one for Mateo. Zip. Onto Buzzwole.
So if we're ever in a spot where Tapu Koko is swinging in on Celesteela, could be nice. Oh, we have the Pheromosa, and with the 10 HP Tapu Koko on the bench, that means it is being taken out.
Yeah, that is a huge ouch and a very quick concede. We're going to be going into game 2.
Having double Pheromosa is really nice for specific instances like that. Just being able to snipe the bench in the early game is nice, and also in the late game as well, when you have some damage dealt on these mons, just sitting on the bench trying to stay in safety. But we can see there that second Pheromosa.
Yeah, it was. I didn't think the 10 HP would be any different, right? Like I was like, oh, 10 HP, but like you Cyrus, there's already another one that's like in range of Cyrus knockout. But Pheromosa, pinging that bench can be so strong sometimes. You don't really expect it. There's not a lot of other Pokemon that can do the same thing that Pheromosa can.
So hopping into game 3 here. Or is this game 2?
Game 2 here.
Game 2. Okay. So learning from the last match, we need to try to keep our mons as healthy as possible on the bench with those Pheromosas, trying to prevent Buzzwole from getting to 3 energy as fast as possible, and playing around our Oricorios as well. If we had space on the bench for that second Oricorio, it wouldn't have been that much of a problem. So we'll see. Buzzwole player starting with Celesteela up front makes a lot of sense. Oricorio in the active spot for the Tapu Koko player. We'll see what basics the Buzzwole player gets here. Gets one Pheromosa and his Buzzwole.
Ooh, I mean, Mateo's getting basically all the pieces of his puzzle right now. T-Man starting with Oricorio doesn't mean a lot when Pheromosa is already on the bench, but 20 pings aren't a lot. Or are they? When we saw how it happened last game. Looks like we are going to hit Pokeball here. We are still looking for our Zero Auras. We do find one of them, but definitely a little bit different than the other one.
So now with Pheromosa on the board, being able to do 20 damage into the Oricorio doesn't feel as good, but if you don't have a Kartana up to get that early 40 damage onto this Oricorio, you just have to swing in with this Pheromosa now. And you're also getting damage onto the Zeraora here. So, swinging in with those Jump Blues.
Yeah, the Jump Blues, 20 to both. And, do you put... I don't know, I feel like you do put Tapu Koko down this early, or Arceus this early, and you can start... But maybe not, since you can't power it up just yet. You do still have to hand attach that Oricorio, so it can wait another turn.
Right. Ideally, you play it in the same way. If you're versing Buzzwole with Guz Lord or the Buzzwole Mirror, you don't want to place it as early as possible. You want to play it as late as possible, but in those cases, you have Lucamine to be able to recover that energy that you weren't attaching to it when it's sitting on the bench, right? But for these guys, you have Arceus and Tapu Koko. There's no Lucamine available for them, so you do have to just manually attach. But that's what the electrical cord on the Oricorio is for, so that when it does eventually get taken out, that energy can be distributed to Mons on the bench.
That makes a lot of sense, And another Jump Blues just pinging 20 here again. This time, not Lucamine, they did swap to the other Pheromosa, so not in range of being KO'd, but we have multiple Oricorios.
Yeah, we see the second Oricorio here. There it is. Placed down.
Looks like we are going to start putting energy on the Oricorio as well now.
And because we committed that last open bench slot to our second Pheromosa, there's no Kartana to worry about right now. So we could just swing in, and we still can't be taken out by anything on the board.
Let's see here. They have Erica.
Only swinging in for 50, Erica just heals it right back up. And now we charge our Buzzwole in the back, start attaching energy, getting to that 3 energy threshold. We're moving here.
Yeah, Mateo's getting everything he needs for sure. Oh my god. But I mean, T-Man feels like a little bit in the back, but he has these one-pointers that continuously get pinged down here by Pheromosa. And, I mean, yeah, Erica is just the perfect health that it does not matter.
So now we most likely will see an EX placed down. Because the Oricorio is going to go down, the electrical cord energy you can get.
That makes a lot of sense, and we can go on and attach 1 energy by hand too. All the other Pokemon are in range, or just, that turn that they're needed, the hand energy goes down. And so we're going to do 50 damage here again into Pheromosa, but a little concerning that there's a second Pokemon that when this attack happens, will be in range of that second Pheromosa on the bench.
And our Buzzwole player only runs 1 Erica, so there's no more Ericas in play. The only other healing they have is that Leaf Cape.
There's Sabrina, Pokemon Lady, Dawn. So we could heal potentially here. Could see a nice little heal.
Swinging into that Arceus, yep. Attaching energy to our Arceus and Oricorio from our Oricorio in the active spot that was taken out. Yeah, PCL is really nice in the matchups against Buzz because you can heal off damage from that Pheromosa pressure. But now we're coming in with our second Oricorio. PCLing the Arceus to prevent Cyrus next turn.
Let's see, yeah. Oricorio, I mean, we not take our first point as T-Man.
So because that was our first point, we can go in with another single prize pointer, and that's what this Pheromosa is. Most likely swinging in on this Oricorio and Arceus. But that just leaves Celesteela and Buzzwole on the board.
Which is kind of concerning if we can't find our second Celesteela, because Buzzwole's effect on his bigger attack does mean if he, doesn't find a way back to the bench and then back to the active spot, he can't attack with it 2 turns in a row. which
The only
is
way it's possible with a single Buzz and a single Celesteela is with Lusamine. So you can hard retreat the energy and then Ultra Thrust back into the active spot and then Lusamine the energy you just retreated with. But you usually don't want to be doing that. You usually want to Lusamine to your other Buzzwole.
yeah. The
As long as this Oricorio is in the active spot, the Buzzwole is meaningless. So we'll see what our opponents can
there's
do.
Lusamine onto the Celesteela though.
So we're gonna see Moonbaton to deal with
Moonbaton.
Oricorio. Heads flips. It wouldn't be Pokemon Pocket if there weren't coin flips. Swinging tagging the Arceus here as well.
Yeah, I wonder if they do have Cyrus, but they could just be tagging it for the future. It's not the biggest concern. And I don't know if we're really, trying to rely on the Moonbaton hitting heads on Oricorio. So taking out that other Zeraora is not the biggest concern here.
And I think the only other healing that our Tapu Koko Arceus player has is Cape. But if he doesn't get above that 120 threshold, Buzzwole can always come in and Cyrus in to kill.
That makes a lot of sense. That is going to be a second point here for T-Man. It looks like we're going for the Moonbaton play.
Here it is. So Arceus has all this energy on the board. If the Oricorio does get taken out, we only have 2 Mons in total. We see the Sabrina.
Ooh, I'm a little bit surprised but confused by the Sabrina play.
So now we can punch with the Buzzwole.
But yeah.
Because that gets his second prize point. If he wants to go for the head slip on the Oricorio, he can. And assuming that the Arceus doesn't have that cape, it's one-shottable by the Buzzwole as well. Having Buzzwole in the active spot here is nice because if the Arceus player did have more energy or more Mons on the bench, it would be swinging in and killing the Celesteela, which you kind of need to save for this Ori. So now Ori's up, swinging in on Buzz. Does put it in range now.
Not happy to get Giovanni there, I feel like. We definitely want more Pokemon if we ever want to attack this Arceus. Let's see.
If we were to use the Geo here, we're 120 HP, so we would still need a full bench.
Yeah, you would definitely
for
need
that
a full bench
Arceus.
there. They've already used Sabrina, so it is going to be Cyrus only as what we can rely on here. I mean, I was definitely guessing we're going to be using our Oricorio, but
yeah, if the Buzzwole player doesn't get his Cyrus, then we'll see a Moonbaton.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Looks like we are deciding to use Giovanni. No? Yes? No? Yes? No? Quickly.
The Giovanni could be used for the Celesteela as well. In a scenario where the Celesteela comes in and misses its tails flip, if we get one more basic and we use Geo, Arceus is swinging in for 120.
Yeah, that's true as well. I was quickly saying there is only the one Mars on Mateo's side, and I think he's already used it. So we don't have to, be thinning our hand and things like that again right now. But I know
No Cyrus.
Oof, no Cyrus. But 2 more cards in hand. How many turns can we go with no Cyrus?
So now everything on the board is 120able, which means that if we get another basic for Arceus, we can KO.
Let's see. Yeah, there's that third energy on the Celesteela, and there's the Ultra Thrusters. It's going to be down to the coin flip here.
Here it is, Moonbaton. Let's see it. Let's see it. The coin flip.
We hate the Moonbaton. We hate the Moonbaton.
I'm on the edge of my seat. Will it be heads? Will it be tails? Will we win the game right here?
If
Oh
he hits
man.
the heads, I mean, that's gonna basically be, or not basically, but very close to being matched. All we would need is another basic. But there's the heads,
There
and
it
Mateo
is.
takes it 2-0 in the series.
Wow. The Moonbaton clutching up to KO that Ori.
I mean,
You can't hide behind an Ori forever. You have these
True.
EXs barreling through. You have poor little electric cheerleader chicken.
he's cute. He's cute.
He's
What
cute.
do you mean? He's cute.
But you can't hide behind him forever.
Not
Sometimes
forever.
be taken out.
It does go down that way sometimes. What we could hop into, I think, depending on how far they're. Oh, it ended. It's just not updated yet on my screen. Looks like there's Sylvie Oricorio versus Charizard EX Sylveon EX. There's a Guz Lord EX Naligo versus a Darkrai Giratina. And then there is Flareon Leafeon versus Sylvia Oricorio, or Flareon Leafeon versus a Greninja Oricorio. Do you have any preference?
Ooh. Let's tune into the Charizard match.
Let's watch Charizard then. That is going to be Pesky Ari and Demi Gear Solid. For some reason, that makes me think of Full Metal Alchemist, but I don't know why, because their name does not sound actually similar. So very odd by me. That being
But not. So it reminds you of Full Metal Alchemist, but not Metal Gear Solid.
Oh, is that what I'm thinking of actually? What
That's
is
probably
Metal
what you're
Gear
thinking.
Solid?
It's a game. You know, Solid Snake. Ah, you're missing out.
I don't
Like,
think I know
what
this
what
one.
game do you play, Ursi? Are you only Pokemon? Come
No,
on.
I'm MMOs. I'm like MOBAs.
There's so much out there to experience. Listen.
I play so many different games, bro.
Metal
I've
Gear
been trying
Solid.
out some different card
Check it
games.
out. Okay, okay.
Does look like Sylvie Oricorio just won while we were saying this, but
Oh, well, there it is.
what is Metal Gear Solid? What type of game is it?
The best way to describe it. I don't know. You're kind of just like sneaking around, having fun, taking people out, taking disguises, you know, stealthy
Oh, is it
vibe.
like a first-person shooter?
No, it's not first person.
Is
It's
it a
like,
shooter game? Let's put it that way, I guess.
yeah, kinda. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I haven't really played too many of those. I played League for a long time, TFT for a long time. Played sadly
League.
Albion for a long time. I played WoW for a while. I played
Wow. Okay.
specifically the arenas.
Okay. Valid.
But played Pokemon Pocket, Lorcana for a little bit. I'm trying out Riftbound.
I mean, you're so damn old. You probably have a lot more game experience than I do, to be honest.
True, you're a baby. You're a baby.
Okay. Well. Okay. Hold on. Wait. That's not how that was supposed to
You
go.
can't tell me I'm old and then not think you're a baby.
I'm a very mature man. Okay.
Have
That's
you
what my mom
graduated
says,
from
at
college
least.
yet? Oh no, not the mom.
Okay.
Don't make us tell your mom when you.
Okay. Here we go.
We're gonna have to watch a different game real quick though. Let's try to
Sounds
hop
good.
to channel
Sounds good.
45.
45. Okay.
45. Wait, there's nobody in 45.
Yeah.
There's nobody in 45.
We're looking for. Which player are we looking for?
Headron.
Let's see.
I'm gonna just put this in the judge channel and then we'll find someone else to watch. Yeah. I mean, we can try to hop to 61. Is there someone in 61? There is someone in 61. We can hop there.
Okay.
Oh, I started RuneScape recently. Oh, I played Diablo 4 and PoE. Oh, and I played Diablo 2 every single season.
Okay. Wait, this is not a battle I should have taken. You play way more games than me.
Oh, wait, actually, let's go. I win.
Yeah, but have you ever, won an Ursiiday tournament? Yeah, that's right.
No, but I've won a tournament before. It's not the
You got
Ursiiday.
me there too? Okay.
It's not the
Well, there you
Ursiiday.
go. You should
Yeah.
play in an Ursiiday. Hold on. Someone else should host it for the day, for the week, and you should be able to participate.
Yeah, I normally just do it myself. I normally just do it myself.
Hmm.
The player name is Rego. I participated in
Mm-hmm.
the first one, but I
Gotcha.
did not participate in the ones after because I started actually casting them.
Gotcha. So here we're seeing this Darktina versus the Guz Lord. Darktina up in front with the Poison Barb, 3 energy attached. A little weak on the Giratina in the back as well. I do think that Darkrai has a decent matchup against Guz. The scary thing is that Guzzlord, the important thing to worry about in this matchup is Guzzlord swinging in for 120 on Darkrai, but it's 140 on Giratina because of that dark weakness. So if you're ever in a spot where you have any damage on that Giratina, no cape, it is one-shottable by the Guzzlord. If you weren't forged in the flames of Darktina mirrors, you sometimes forget that Giratina has that dark weakness.
Yeah, I forget it all the time. Giratina doesn't look like a psychic Pokemon, especially if you don't have his, common art. um,
Hmm.
so a little concerning, but looks like Darkrai is doing right now. Pedron is up 2 points, and Rego is at 1 point. We are taking our second with the ping. Depending on what they put forward, Giratina could finish off the game. They put up the 120 health. Oh, there's only one psychic energy.
Yeah. Giratina has no energy to attack with, and everything is within 120 range.
Yeah, even the Giratina.
And because we used our ping to kill that Nihilego, we can't do 100 damage to the Celesteela, because usually you can ping and then hit for 80 to deal a total of 100.
Yeah, but not this time. Looks like we are going to go on and, I mean, we Cyrus, we attack, but it's not enough. And I do think that's going to be game here.
Yeah, that Guzzlord can just come in and swing in on that Darkrai there.
Oh, we'll close here and we'll go find us another game now.
Let's do it.
Is there any other games? I believe there would be. Refresh. Looks like all of our bottom half are done. The top half, there are still a couple players here. Why don't we hop into channel 33?
Alrighty.
It is going to be the Leafeon Oricorio. Well, Leafeon versus Oricorio, essentially, but...
There it is.
Can you let everyone know what's going on in the game while I get this
Yeah.
set up?
Yeah, so we have the Silvally Oricorio player with 2 Oricorios down, with a Silvally in the active spot though, and 0 points, but our Leafeon player here has 2 fully charged up Leafeons, the Leafeon EX and the baby Leafeon, and is starting to swing in here. So we have 70 damage on that Silvally, leaving it at 40 HP. The Leafeon itself is at 20 HP, so it is revenge KOable. But the problem is, if another point is taken, the Leafeon player takes the set, and they have the energy they need on the Leafeon as well, the baby one, to be able to KO either of the Oris here. So it's not looking too good for our Silvally Ori player now.
Yeah, this seems rough. I mean, you normally think like the Oricorio would be really strong with this deck, but it looks like ST3 got a good start. They had a Leafeon fully set up on the bench, threatening both Oricorios, and did you even get another point from? There's 0 auras in this list. I know that because they're in his hand right now. What am I saying? Of course. I'm blind.
Yeah, in this matchup, the Zeraora is kind of tough as well because it's only 90 HP. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of the time, you're just dancing around with your Mons, hoping that you can tank as much as you can with Oricorio to build up your Silvales to be the hard hitters. But yeah, just swinging on this Leafeon. All of the other Mons are KOable with that baby Leafeon. So it looks like it will be a game for the Leafeon player here.
Ooh. And that is going to be the last game that the Leafeon player needs to make it to top 16. That is also the last game of our top 32. So we can figure out a game to watch for our next round. Here. Let's see if we can find us another match. Are there any games you would like to watch in our top 16? I'll bring it up so everyone can see the different matchups.
Yeah, let me see. Is
Wait,
our
there's like
Solgaleo player
no.
still in?
The Solgaleo player is still in, but there's only one Leafeon, Flareon left.
Wow. Interesting, interesting. The plot thickens, huh? I do want to check out this Solgaleo player, so if either player are streaming their perspective, I do want to take a look at that game.
Let me get which channel that is, and we can try to watch that one. It is going to be channel. I have not said yet. I can go to the older channel maybe. Say it. They're gonna be streaming in channel. Where are they streaming? Very good at
But yeah, I'm
this.
interested to see how that Skarmory plays into the Shiinotic, right? Because you have the Shiinotic to be able to draw all these different Mons. It could be good. It could be bad. It's specifically there to deal with Oricorio, right?
Yeah.
So, but it would suck if you really need a Solgaleo, you use your Shiinotic ability to find a Mon, and then because you have this extra Mon in here that you teched in for your bad matchup, you get it instead of the card you desperately needed. So, it generally doesn't seem to be a problem with Shiinotic's Solgaleo lists, because a lot of the time you're playing the game, eventually you get fully set up, and then your Shiinotics are there, you can use the ability, it doesn't draw anything. So, it does give you extra time. But yeah, we'll
Look up
see
the
how
channel
that
59.
Solgaleo. Gotcha. 59.
Yeah, but I definitely get what you mean. Like, it can be, it'll be interesting to see how the Skarmory actually plays. I could see some problems if you do start Skarmory, it like holds a bench spot that you wouldn't want it to hold to be able to get a second Shiinotic going, get a second, Solgaleo started and things like that. But
Right.
it'll be interesting
If you're
to.
playing that one tech card for like the Ori, you generally want to only have one Shiinotic actually, so that you can build
Oh.
up 2 Solgaleos and then have that last spot on the bench for that tech card. But that only applies to the matchups where you actually want to play it, right? So we'll see. Moral start for our Solgaleo player and our opponent, starting with his Eevee, the Collect Eevee. Gets a Froakie down on the bench as well. What do you think about Collect Eevee as opposed to the damage dealing ones? Because if
I
people are
like Collect
using the basic
more.
Eevee, yeah.
I think.
People are using the basic Eevee, they're using Collect, and then obviously Eevee EX. If you want to have 4 Eevees in the deck when you need them, you have to use the EX version as well.
Yeah, I think I like Collect. Obviously, it seems like a lot of times when I actually use Collect, that they Mars me directly afterwards. But I think that's like negative whatever bias of the human brain. But it does feel good to find some of those different pieces of the puzzle when you draw further into your deck. It does look like this time we don't have the Skarmory just yet. Yling is running no Oricorios though, so we probably don't want it. They're running a baby
So now
Espeon though.
revolving. Yeah, the baby Espeon is very interesting for those high energy attackers. But now we see the Sylveon in the active spot. If our player gets the Solgaleo, he can swing in for 140 because Sylveon is fairy, so it has that steel weakness, so it's weak to Solgaleo. We do see the rare candy to get the Greninja as well. Cape on the Sylveon to protect it, tagging the Cosmog there. So now we do see the rare candy and the Solgaleo coming in.
Ooh, I mean, finding all the pieces he needs here. Uh,
Hmm.
and he'll be able to go in and attack this turn as well. Luckily for Ling, there is a cape on Sylveon, so they can't just immediately knock it out. I was
Hmm.
surprised to find that Sylveon EX is weak to Metal, Steel type, whichever
Hmm.
one it's called in
Yeah.
Pokemon.
Yep. Yeah, because it is that fairy type, it does have that weakness. If the Solgaleo player did have red, it would have dealt with
Mm.
that cape perfectly fine, but now the Sylveon lives to see another day. We also have Psychic Energy coming up. So with this deck, the Greninja Giratina Sylveon, the energy is dual energy, right? So you
Mm-hmm.
can have dual energy moments where you don't get the energy you need, but here that wasn't the case. We have the one water, the one psychic, making it so that Sylveon can swing in.
But it is kind of concerning for next turn. Committing both these energies to Sylveon EX with no Giratina on the bench does mean that when Lim knocks out the Sylveon here, Ling is not going to be able to attack next turn. Um,
Hmm.
and it's going to be a little bit of drought of energy.
Yeah, no, Giratina is pretty rough. We also saw the Lily as well, just getting that healing in. So we'll see what the Sylveon Giratina Greninja player can do.
There's baby Eevee coming to the active spot now. It doesn't look like we're wanting to give up Greninja or Froakie. Definitely understandable. Oh, but we got to concede. And we're going game two.
Hmm. Yeah, with that one usage of the cape on the other Sylveon, you can't use it again on this Sylveon. So now it can be one-shotted by the Solgaleo, and even then, there's no energy on anything to attack. So, quick little dub for the Solgaleo player here.
Yeah, very nice, quick win there. We'll have to see if they can keep it up into their second game.
Hmm.
What do you feel about continuous steps, Eevee?
I am not a fan. Okay, it's like it's content if you flip like 7 heads and take out like a Darkrai, right? But I want consistency. I'm a man of consistency, okay? I'm not gonna try to get lucky. So I'll
Mm-hmm.
just take my 20 tackle Eevee, do my 20 damage, and be content. Rather than, hoping to just do 20 or 40 damage every turn. Because I do be flipping tails. So
Oh no, yeah, Tails is not good. Tails is not what we want uh, for the matchup. Uh, let's see here. I for some reason thought I turned on the game and I didn't. But we are starting Cosmog here for a limb. I agree. I think consistency over the coin flip. Obviously, if you're streaming or you're making content, it is very good content. But it is not what you want in a tournament, in my opinion. Um,
hmm. So we
but
see the Cosmog in the active spot here. We have the Giratina charging up. So getting that Giratina early on turn 1 means you can charge as fast as you possibly can. You don't have energy advantage, but starting with that energy on the Giratina is very nice. And it looks like the Solgaleo player doesn't have any other basics to teleport out to, so Cosmog is staying in the active spot.
let's see. Yeah, I mean, Professor's research now as well, drawing us two more cards. Luckily, they have that Giratina, so they are able to generate energy no matter what on the bench. But
We see the
for
Sylveons here. We see even more drawing. Yup,
ooh,
there it is. Yeah, evolving the one in the back. So a lot of the time, you're gonna want to stall with your baby Mons, ideally
mm-hmm.
giving up just a basic Eevee, not a Sylveon, because you want your Froakies to be able to become Greninjas. You need to keep your Giratina healthy, obviously. And then Sylveon as well. You're purely using it for drawing. If you need it, you can swing in later in the game, but you're solely relying on that Giratina. We do see the rare candy into Solgaleo here, attaching the second energy to take out that Eevee.
Yeah, that's really. I mean, two games in a row. We're immediately into the Solgaleo, and we'll be able to KO take our first point here. But we're gonna need some
Mhm.
type of damage boost or a secondary attacker to deal with Giratina more than likely.
We do have that cape on the Giratina as well, 170 HP. Solgaleo only
Mm-hmm.
doing 120.
Even red doesn't put it to 150, which is what it's going to need for once that Giratina swings.
Mm-hmm. We do get other basics on the board though. So we have our other Cosmog. We can build a second Solgaleo. So that's at least good, just in case this Solgaleo ends up becoming a little too weak to deal with the rest of the board here. Giratina comes up, makes a lot of sense. Ready to swing in.
Yeah, but now we would do 130 here. Looks like we're actually going to do 150 with a Greninja. If he has red, that's already game. Not game, but a knockout.
Mm-hmm.
But he doesn't play red, so that's not possible. I don't know why I said that. Okay. We have Sabrina, Cyrus, but we need Candy. Well, not Candy, because we are surviving, it looks like here. Oh, it does put us to 130. I always forget the too many damage things, guys. Sometimes I can't count all of them.
With that Rocky Helmet as well, it's dealing that 40 damage to itself.
Yep.
So the problem here is that you have to give up the Greninja, which means that you
Ooh.
don't get the Pain Kill next turn. Because if you were to put the
Yeah.
Sylveon up, you just lose the game. So you have to give up the Greninja, which means there's no more pinging on anything else. But with only 2 cards in hand, just the Cosmog on the board, we need to rely on getting this second Solgaleo as fast as we possibly can, but it's not looking too good.
Yeah, it does not feel great to, not have, that Shinotic or that second Solgaleo just yet. Hopefully we'll be able to see what we can draw into. I mean, potentially like, research still saves us here, but
And we did commit energy to the Skarmory as opposed to the Cosmog, so that kind of tells the opponent that we don't have a way of getting our Solgaleo up at least this following turn. Say if we had
yeah.
Candy or the Solgaleo, like hoping to top deck into the other missing piece of the puzzle that we need. So the opponent knows that we don't have the cards we need, and if we're just going in with Skarmory, not much else we can do here.
There is Shinotic. It may be too late unless we have a second piece like in our deck. There's
Yeah,
Morlul. I don't think we're getting the pieces we need here.
and just not enough. We have a poor little Skarmory swinging in for 20 damage on the Giratina.
Tragic. But looks like we are going to be putting energy onto our and conceding. Doesn't even matter if we put energy, we're just gonna go and concede. And that is gonna send us
Yep.
into game 3 now.
Unfortunate. Rare no second Solgaleo ASAP moment from our Solgaleo player.
Yeah, very tragic. I don't know, sometimes it feels obviously right, like hitting that rare candy super early is so strong. But if you hit
Mhm.
rare candy, Solgaleo, and then you just never get your other pieces because your Shinotic didn't get made, sometimes I'm never sure, like, was it good that I set up that early and got to be that aggressive? Because,
Mhm.
there's only so many cards you could have drawn into.
Yeah. That was the craziest conception of a deck. Like when Shinonic was first teased with the trailer, I believe that it was released in. I was trying to think of what really pairs well with the Shinonic. I was thinking about other psychic mons that could pair well with it. I did not think of Solgaleo, but as soon as I heard the idea, I was like, wow, that makes so much sense. Being able to just Rising Road, you don't need to worry about committing energy into Shinonic to retreat. And then there were other decks that were built with it as well, like the Magnezone deck. And then now
Yeah.
Shinotic's kind of being replaced by Sylveon now with that drawing ability.
Yeah, that like 2 energy cost on the retreat. I was like, man, there's no way Shinotic's gonna like see play. Like obviously the ability is good, but like it sounds like it's just gonna get stuck in the active. 40 damage, not enough. But honestly, you know, when you're just roading through it, it doesn't really matter. I completely
hmm
agree with that. And Sylveon, I definitely think there's like pros and cons, like both, but it is really nice to hit some of those other Pokemon as well. We are going to go and get into our 3rd game now. Overlord,
Yeah, so now
starting Cosmogling, starting with the Eevee and the active, and they are going first this time.
it's a very similar start that we saw in last game as well. Cosmog in the active, Eevee in the active, Froakie in the back here. But this time we do get some earlier basics. Get our Morlul down here, trying to get that Shinotic up ASAP. We have the Skarmory in hand, but we don't necessarily need it. Placing it down. choosing what to teleport into here. Choosing Morlul, we know we have Shiinotic in hand, so we can evolve next turn, assuming no hand disrupt, and then Greninja comes out. We see the rare candy on the Greninja. That early Greninja applying
Ooh.
early pressure, just 20 damage every turn, can be pretty overwhelming, especially if we don't have a Lily to heal our Solgaleo back up to healthy HP.
Yeah, let's see if we can. I mean, what we have immediately is Sylveon, though. They're going to be able to really get their board set up here more than likely. There comes down that Giratina EX. And the question to me kind of is, are we leaving the Sylveon in the active in the case that Solgaleo appears again? He did it game 1 and game 2. Can he do it game 3?
And here we are. We have the Sylveon in the active spot. This time, it's not caped, which means
Yeah.
that it is one-shottable to that Solgaleo. And we see the rare candy. There it is. So the problem with leaving that Sylveon in the active spot is now it's just KO'd. But really, you'd rather have your Sylveon go down than your Greninja so you can keep those pings going. But we only have one energy on the Giratina on the bench now after charging last turn, so we're kind of behind here. Not going to be very easy for the Giratina player to deal with the Solgaleo now. And with a more developed bench, we have the Cosmog down already. We have the Shiinotic ready to search for our evolutions. It's looking pretty good for the Solgaleo player here.
Let's see. Yeah, looking really nice. But I'm taking those 2 points there for a limb, and Giratina not ready at all, and definitely at risk of a Sabrina KO onto the Greninja on the bench. Do ping, but I mean, not like we can attack and finish off the Solgaleo just yet.
There is quite a lack of energy here, and we see water energy coming up as well, meaning that the Giratina has to manually charge the energy itself. That is a benefit of running the dual energy with the Psychic with Giratina, right? Because if you don't have your Giratina early game, you're punished in decks where you don't run Psychic energy, but in decks where you do run the Psychic energy, you can just manually attach and charge to get it up even faster. But in this case, we don't have the energy required to be able to take out this Solgaleo. We only have water. And everything on the board is KO'able with the Solgaleo here. We can't deal enough damage to attack with it.
Yeah, and there's going to be a concede. So it looks like a limb is going to be going on into our top 8 with the Solgaleo list.
And there it is. I was not expecting Solgaleo up this far. I was expecting the Charizards to swiftly take care of them, but here we are. Solgaleo in top 8. Congratulations to our Solgaleo player here.
Yeah, huge. I mean, fantastic job by Lim. We're gonna hop to channel 17 next, where our last Flareon, Leafeon, is fighting it out.
Ooh, let's see it.
Let's get this up as quickly as possible.
Duking it out with Charizard Sylveon.
Yeah, not the
So
matchup you want.
Leaf on the board, interestingly. Leafeon, generally, you don't need it. It was maybe evolved to prevent Sabrina-ing a KO early? Not sure. But we do have that Sylveon there. Or, sorry, Leafeon. So 5 energy on this Charizard, already stoked. 180 HP, healthy. Flareon on the bench with 2 energy. It combusted last turn, so it did take damage. So it's 110 HP with the cape. Charizard comes in, swings in on this Eevee in the active spot.
Goes to
Getting
2
this.
points.
Yeah, both of these players here are at 2 points. We have a weak Flareon put up in the active spot. So we do 130
Ooh, Sabrina.
past Sabrina plus the Eevee bag. Oh my
Ooh,
goodness.
and that's
What a
everything
combo.
they need.
As long as they click the right effect. Okay, I always get worried, I'm not gonna lie. But there it is. Swinging it for 140. It's incredible. I can't. I'm at a loss for words. If you have Sabrina with the Eevee bags, you're still able to deal that extra damage. It's not a weakness that you get from using Geo or Red, right? Geo or Red, you're only applying to that current active spot. But you can Sabrina something that's on the bench and still add damage. Eevee bag being that item, still being able to use it, you can stack 2 of them. What a crazy card.
It is really seems just so good, and that is just game 2. They're currently 1-1 now, so we're gonna be getting into game 3 here, and let's see what they end up doing. But
I do
really
generally think
interesting.
that Charizard has a better matchup here. If you can get it online early, just swing it in for 150. Even if you cape a Leafeon, you're still 160, which is still one-shottable. And then you have your other evolutions, Flareon just being a base 150 HP. You usually want to save your cape for that Flareon to be able to attack with it multiple times since it is your big hitter, hitting for
Mm-hmm.
130. But it does discard its 2 energy. It forces you to combust next turn if you want to hit back to back, which means that you are taking 20 damage. So even a cape on a Flareon, if you're not able to one-shot or finish off a Charizard, it can still hit back for 150 and take the KO.
Yeah, and so we are going to be attaching energy to our active spot Eevee. Looks like we are going to go on and collect here, which does set us up to be able, if we can find Leafeon, to swing with the Leafeon next turn. Who didn't even find a Charmander last turn, which means it definitely no Charizard this turn.
Yeah, the benefit of going turn 1 is you have evolution advantage. Turn 2, you have energy advantage. But if you're going turn 1, you can place them on down. You'll be able to evolve it on turn 3 of the game, your second turn. And we see that here. We have the Sylveon to be able to draw. Look at that hand size, man. And still no Charmander, huh?
Yeah, that's a bit rough, but I mean, let's see what we're able to find. We have a second. We have a third Eevee. Do we have research? Do we have anything that can help us find some of our different attackers?
hmm So we have a choice between Research and Mars. With that big of a hand size, you kind of want a Mars, but they are bricking. That's what that means. But eventually, they're
Mm-hmm.
going to unbrick and have everything in their hand. So our Eevee box player is most likely saving that Mars for when they do place down that Charmander to
Yeah.
prevent a rare candy into Zard. So here, opting for the research, gets the Leafeon, can start swinging in on that Sylveon for 70 damage.
Yeah, it really puts 2 on a timer here because, I mean, it is probably going to two-shot, which is a huge concern for 2 when there's not even, as we said, that Charmander even on the bench yet.
hmm I find Leafeon EX to be a very interesting card. The fact that it's essentially colorless, because if it's in the active spot, it
Mm-hmm.
generates its own grass energy. I think that's really cool. So you can afford to run solo fire energy to build up your Flareons as much as you can. Really cool.
Yeah, I
So now we have the
completely
Sylveon
agree.
70 HP as well. Go ahead.
I completely agree. It's so I mean it's really interesting that they even made it be a grass energy when it's
hmm
like essentially colorless code's ability, but we are seeing a Mars come down, trying to stop any Mars, I feel like, of ST3s. We have Cape though, an Eevee bag, and a Flareon.
hmm So now we have the Flareon down. Ideally, you attach 1 energy to a Flareon on the bench before it's brought in so that
Mm-hmm.
you can combust to attach the second energy and then manually attach for the third. So we're most likely going to see that Flareon evolution. And we have the Sylveon in the active spot with 70 HP, and that's it. So taking that Sylveon out means that the Charmander is forced to the active spot. But the Mars from the Charizard player means that we don't have our Mars anymore. So they get to keep their entire hand as is, which is pretty large and most likely has that rare candy Charizard.
That's everything he needs.
Mhm.
um, but that is gonna be 2 points for ST3, and since Too Lazy has not attacked, it is a little bit, of a concern that he's still not going to get to attack here. We potentially could see Flareon appear. We could see some early damage into this Charizard that he may not be able to come back from. Too Easy is playing 2 Lilies and a Giant Cape, but uh, C3 is running a Giant Cape of their own as well.
Mhm. And because we just got that Charizard in, it needs to stoke to be able to add the energy required to attack. So that Leafeon is still up there, still chilling right now. Might not survive too much longer, but we'll see what SC3 does here.
Let's see here.
Still has the Flareon. Chose not to evolve last turn. And we did see the Mars from the Charizard player, so there is no more hand disrupt. So there's no rush to evolve or use the cards you have in hand.
Yeah, I completely agree. I wonder. I feel like the better option is to retreat back and attack with the Flareon.
Mm-hmm.
Especially because
I
obviously
agree.
Leafeon just goes on and gets healed up by a Lily that's more than likely in Two's hand already.
Right.
We hand attach the second fire energy to Eevee.
I don't know if he'll have enough time to make that play, though. I most likely would have evolved to the Flareon, combusted, healed back to 150, then caped to survive. We're choosing to red. Taking 90 damage. So if we see a Lily here, we're back to 150. Which Flareon can do with 2 Eevee bags. So that's the difference between manually attaching and combusting here.
There's
We do see
Lily.
the... So just by manually attaching on this Eevee, building up the energy, you're not using your Eevee bag for healing and can instead use it for damage. So if we do get in a spot where we can get 2 Eevee bags and swinging in with the Flareon, it will be game.
Let's see. Yeah, it's interesting to me that they decided to attack with the Leafeon, but there's a Sylveon as well.
So if we're in a spot where we don't KO the Zard here, there could be a Mars, or Sabrina rather, to get one of the Mons in the back up front to take out. We did take out that Leafeon EX. We just need one more prize points. Everything else on the board is EXs anyways. So we'll see.
Looks like we are deciding if we want to Mars or not.
We do see the Mars, so that entire hand size goes down to 1 because that's how many points left they need to win the game. So now we see the Flareon come out. Mm-hmm.
We get our cape, and we can power up even like a second layer if we wanted to do that, but probably, I don't know, I guess you kind of do need it.
Even if hitting for 130 here, they don't have enough heals to deal with the Flareon. If they had Guzma or Red, which they don't,
I'm a little confused.
it could have been possible, but
I'm a little confused because ST3 still like kind of won there. Maybe he still wins here, but he like definitely won here. I feel like if he also put a second energy.
yeah, because now he uses the Eevee bag to heal, to combust, and then has the energy he needs.
Yeah, like he's still able to do it, but like, you know, in the chance he like didn't have Eevee bag, he has the second Flareon. We're gonna second Flareon before you use the Eevee bag to heal back to 170 or whatever. But we are gonna go and get that
enough
win,
energy as well. Yeah. Easy dub, nice. Nicely done. Dealing with Charizard. I love to see Charizard players lose. I'm sorry. I had to say it. I just had to say it. I'm so sorry. Respect to the player. Congratulations on making it this far, but hey. I've been cooked too many times by Charizard in ranked. I'm a little emotionally scarred.
Oh no, not the emotional choice on which deck to cheer for. Come on here. I do love Eevee Box though, so I want to see it go all the way. I want to see it go all the way.
Yeah. I think it's a really fun deck and really cool. I just really like the evolutions. They're all really interesting. The EXs that they have. The Leafeon coming back all the way from Triumphant Light, making its resurgence here. I think it's really awesome. It's also my favorite evolution. Green is my favorite color, you know? So
I guess, I mean, that is the last grass Pokemon, I guess. Unless you want to count like Naligo, he's like kind of green, right? I'm colorblind, so he's not. I could be wrong.
I'm sorry to break it to you. No, he's not
He's not
green.
green at all?
No,
Not at all.
he's kind of like white. There's maybe a little bit of blue, I guess.
Very
Yeah.
confused. Interesting. Okay. I'm very confused right now. I don't know why I had green on him. I'm also confused because one of the people playing I thought we were watching earlier, but maybe I'm thinking of it earlier round. I think my brain is fried right now.
But yeah, that was that
J-
the final match?
no, we have a couple
They're still
more still
going.
running. I'm trying to see which one we should hop into here.
Yeah.
It looks like game 2 finished 2 minutes ago, and so
Hmm.
why don't we hop to channel 12?
Gotcha.
Boop boop. And we'll get this up as quickly as possible. We're going into game 3 for this match.
So we're seeing that Silvally, Zeraora, Oricorio against the Guz Lord Nihilego Celesteela. So this one does not have Naganadel. It's the older build that has that 2 Poison Barbs, 1 Rocky Helm, 1 PCL. So compared to the other Naganadel list, usually you're dropping that 1 PCL and that 1 Rocky Helm for the Naganadel line, a 1/1 line. But here we're seeing back to what it was. So we have the player on the bottom here has the type null in the active spot, 0 aura on the bench with the 1 energy, most likely since the beginning of the game to get that single energy. Type null attaches energy and hits them with the coin flip, which is tails. But it does leave that Celesteela at 100 HP, which means that Silvally could take it out.
Yeah, I mean, let's see if we hit. Oh, that was our coin flip. I was like, wait, let's go to Savali now. No, that's not how this works. I'm interested to see if we can find a second Naligo because looks like we're able to swing with Naligo this turn, and with the poison tick, that would be a KO.
It looks like we're going in for the poison anyways. Getting that poison early on the type null or Silvally is really nice. When you do evolve, you do get rid of that poison effect, but the damage will be dealt with. So we're swinging in for 50 here without that second Nihilego. 30 and then 20 plus poison.
Yeah, we're gonna see that new wave attack does do 30, does poison for 20, and now it's Bestiari's turn to Bestiari's turn to come here.
We didn't see the beginning of the game, but I would assume that there was only 1 or 2 Mons being the Null and Oricorio to deal with, because if you have Zero Aura, you kind of want to start with it because it generates its own energy so you can retreat, but you want to save damage on your type nulls and your Oricorios. And so we're going to see the effects of that now. With type null in the active spot, getting early damage from this Nihilego, it is the hard-hitting Mon of the deck, right? Zero Aura and Oricorio are only swinging in for 50, but with Silvally, that's where you get your 100 damage, 110 with Geo. So you want to save your hard hitters for later in the game when you need to deal that hard hitting energy. You usually don't want to start with them. But we did see the type null in the active spot there. So it means that Zera Aura was most likely from a Pokeball if I was to guess.
Let's see if Pedron can find the Lusamine. We'll definitely be looking for that. There is Lusamine, which is gonna put 20 damage, not 20 damage, 2 energies onto that Guz Lord. It can swing for 30 here, which is just out of range of KOing.
Yeah, if it was still poison, it would have been KO'd, but still has that extra 10 HP after evolving to get rid of that poison. So let's see. Any heads flips? One.
Okay, just one.
Still manageable. Okay.
There's technically a Dawn if we want us to power something else up. Looks like we are going to make a second Silvally.
The Dawn is actually pretty clutch here because the problem is if you don't use your Dawn and you want to swing in with the Silvally, you have to attach the energy, but then you don't have the follow-up with your Silvally. And usually at this point in the game, you're not going to be attacking with your Zero Aura, so we might see the Dawn to the Silvally here, attaching manually to the Silvally on the bench to be able to swing for back-to-back 100s. We'll see.
Let's see. So we're gonna
Couple of
attach an
options here.
energy.
Okay, manually
Research.
attaching to the Silvally, yeah. Using the research to activate it, then swinging. So now our Silvally on the bench doesn't have the energy, but of course that down play also applies next turn, right? You can attach the energy to the Silvally manually and then Dawn from the Zero Aura. That's most likely what the player was thinking about here.
Yeah, I can definitely see that, and then finishing off and taking the last 2 points off this Guz Lord. Uh, hmm.
So we'll see. BCRE does have 1 point already. The Guzzler player does not have a single point yet with this 10 HP Silvally. It always feels bad seeing a 10 HP Mon and then having to use like a 120 damage attack into it. Like
Yeah.
I couldn't just deal 10 extra damage previously, but we see the
Sad.
hard retreat into the
Ooh.
Lucid. Is that what's happening?
Interesting. Poison Barb on the one on the bench. Definitely just drew into that.
Hard retreating so that we can Lucid to our healthier Guz now. We can't have our 70 HP Guz in the active spot anymore, so
But it's not going to
passing the
attack.
turn. Mm-hmm.
We can potentially knock it out, and then we would get KO'd in return, but then you just put our Choreo up, right? And it's no one has poison on it, but we do have Cyrus, which is going to let us go on and finish this finish this one up here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very tough.
Wow.
Clutch Cyrus getting it done.
For sure. Really great, really great job by oh, you're locked.
Nicely done, yeah. I typically think that Silvally is not that much of a problem for poison builds, but when you do have this Aura Choreo, you do have the Zero Aura. The extra energy from the Zero Aura is nice. Have it tank in the front for a little bit, but as we just saw, Silvally can just clean up the game. You're able to just do a lot of damage. 100 back to back to back with all these supporters, as long as they're playable. You don't want to have a Cyrus when you can't Cyrus anything in, but it is a
Very
very
true.
strong card. I also think Type Null, for being the basic that is the pre-evolution of Silvally, it's also good. Like
Mm-hmm.
coin flipping for 20, potentially 40 damage, 80 HP, like he's a solid tank of himself.
Yeah, they're really good cards for sure. They definitely were like, we need more 1 point tanks, and they gave them to us. I feel like with the entire A3, but I guess it's just A3 itself that had Silvally. It does look like the last match is finishing up. With the message I saw in their chat, it does look like they're finishing up. They have not
Mhm.
marked the winner just yet. I think it's Tommy that makes it into top 8, but we will see what actually gets marked or whatnot.
Gotcha.
With that being said,
Yeah.
it will be to a Silvally or Choreo mirror match, a Giratina Darkrai versus Sylveon EX Greninja, the Solgaleo Shiinotic versus the Sylveon Greninja, and then I believe it's going to be our Flareon EX, Leafeon EX against the Greninja or Choreo.
Hmm. I do want to look at that Sylveon EX, like Leafeon Flareon
Mm-hmm.
box deck because it is going up against an Oricorio, you said, right?
Yeah, Greninja or Choreo. We can check the exact list here.
Yeah, let's
It's going to
see.
be, yeah, Froakie, Greninja or Choreo, Eevee, Sylveon, Giratina.
Yeah, so it's that what I like to call the Sylveon Obi deck. Simon Obi is the deck that Simon Game Dev made with that Greninja, Oricorio, Pyukumuku Giratina, and
Mm-hmm.
then it changed into Giratina, Greninja, Oricorio, and now Sylveon. Just one line of Sylveon. So it's also a very strong deck. The Sylveon Obi now. So I do want to see how that goes. It should be pretty tough for the Eevee box player to be able to deal with that Oricorio, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm just interested to see how lucky they get with their baby Leafeons. That's kind of why I want to watch this. I want to see if they can get their baby Leafeons early and up and running to deal with the Oricorios. Then it should be good for them.
Yeah, that's a great point. I'm gonna check to see where we're streaming, and then we should do it. It looks like we can just hop to channel 17.
Okay.
So, let me quickly. We are gonna be watching this matchup, and we'll try to get everything together here. Getting our match set up.
So yeah, with all these Oricorios, these decks that have a lot of EXs are needing to find an answer. So the answer for this specific deck is the baby Leafeon that swings in for 90. It needs grass energy, so you're required to get Leafeon EX before you have this baby Leafeon as well to be able to attach that energy, because the deck is only running that solo fire. Other decks that have these answers are like Charizard Sylveon as well, where you have that Flareon, the baby Flareon that swings in for 110. So it's whenever you're making a new deck or trying to think about what can work in the current meta, you have to think about certain benchmarks. Like benchmark 1 is like Oricorio, benchmark 2 is like Dark Tina. If you don't pass those benchmarks, odds are you don't have a great deck.
Oh no.
But yeah, because there are
Yeah.
some constants that will just never go away. Dark Tina, I don't see going away anytime soon. Oricorio, the more EXs there are in the game, the more relevant EXs are. It's staying relevant. So
Yeah, Darkrai Giratina is just such a reactive, consistent deck that like, especially if your deck then becomes like inconsistent or whatnot,
mhm.
it's gonna be even more advantageous for them to play. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out one little artifact that is currently on my stream. Maybe if I type something, it'll... Yeah, it does. Okay. It was like stuck on 3 points when I had nothing typed in. When I say typed in, my point counter is a period over top of a
Crazy.
dark circle.
Wait, that's actually really smart.
Yeah, it's just a period, but there's like
Oh,
something weird where like it won't let it be empty right now. I don't know why.
interesting.
We'll figure out over time. I don't know what's happening, so C3 does not have a point. They're gonna take 1 second here, but do you so we're really watching out, right, for that baby Leafeon in this matchup. We have to get a big Leafeon and a baby Leafeon. Are there any other like things that you think that SC3 can do to help them in this matchup versus Oricorio?
Yeah, it's mainly just being careful with those evolutions, because you don't want to be in a spot where you're evolving mons that you don't need. For example, 2 Sylveons. There are 2 Sylveons, or there's 1 Sylveon in that deck. But if you have like 2 Flareons when you need 1 Leafeon EX to swing in, it could be pretty detrimental because there's not much you can do there. You only have 4 EVs, but you have a lot more than 4 evolutions. So the thing you got to watch out for, it's also matchup dependent as well. Here specifically, you need the Leafeon EX so that you can get your baby Leafeon. But you got to be careful with where you're evolving and who you're evolving to.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, it could definitely we could definitely see some concerns here. If we're not hitting the ones that we want.
And that's the way that you really brick with it. Your ideal start is you're starting with Leafeon EX so that it can generate energy itself, and then you can have a Flareon EX in the back that can build up energy manually. But yeah, that's your general game plan that you want to go into. But that requires you to have those evolutions as fast as possible.
Yeah. Do you think Tommy has any specific things that he needs to do, to make sure he wins this, or it's just Oricorio sticks or it doesn't stick?
Yeah, it's mainly revolving around these Oricorios. The longer you have these Oricorios, if you have 2 up, then there's no Sabrina, shenanigans that you have to worry about. So if you have those two Oricorios up, you're in a really good spot. In a case where you don't, you still want to have your Oricorio if you have one to just be up there, just to tank as much as possible. Because it does take time for that baby Leafeon to be set up, and they do need to get those two different stage 1 evolutions. So hand disruption could be very huge as well. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, we will find out. Both of these decks I feel like have a lot of like good skill expression in them. I haven't played the Oricorio version of Tommy's List, but I've played it without the Oricorio and it felt very skill expressive. So it'll be interesting to see, especially in this matchup, how that goes.
Yeah, it's really interesting how different decks in the meta can be. There is a lot of skill expression with decks like, well, I might be hated for saying this, but I think Dark Tina is a very difficult deck to play. Even though you see it all the time and it seems very simple, you just attach energy and charge up. But it actually does take a great amount of thinking to think about which supporters you want to use this turn, which supporters you want to use later in the turn, where you want to attach your energy, if you want to attach the Giratina and double charge, or where you want your tools, where you need to use your heals. There are a lot of choices that you make in the Dark Tina deck. So there is a lot of skill expression there, and it does take a good amount of thinking to make sure that you can win the game. It's not as easy as people would think. And then you also have decks that are like Solgaleo Rampardos, where you just get your Evo as fast as possible, and then you win the game. So it's interesting. There's all these different decks, different playstyles. Some people just like using a specific type of deck. Some people like using easier decks. Some people like using harder decks. Me personally, I find Dark Tina to be one of the most fun decks to play because of how much you're thinking about where you need to attach everything that I had described, where you need to attach your energy and supporter usage. And I just find that really fun. And that to me is the beauty of Pocket. There's so much complexity, but there's also so much simplicity, and all of it is fun.
Yeah, I think I definitely agree. I think Dark Red Giratina has like a lot of skill expression in it. When we ran our top 10K, all of the top players from other card games actually played Dark Red Giratina, and they said they found it had a lot of skill expression where it's like a reactive deck where they can, be consistent, play well, and then capitalize right on their opponent misplaying or not high rolling versus hoping that they hit the like high rolling or things like that. And so like I definitely agree with that. I think that like it's something that I kind of maybe this sounds bad, and obviously I like this part of Pokemon card game in general, where it has even like Pokemon the card game, the physical card game, right? It has decks that my friends and I would call the face roll decks, where like you can roll your face across the like table and you could still potentially win, right? And or like so like the floor for learning the deck is lower than some of the other decks that take more thinking at the lower levels. But then with Pokemon and all these different supporters, you can still have a higher like skill ceiling for a deck. And I think that's something that like with the Silly list, like you said, like you just want the Evo as fast as possible. Has the is like kind of reminds me of that. But I don't know. I think it's good for new players to be able to play decks like that as well, where they can. It's not like 100% like a coin flip or something. It's get my Evos, but how do I learn how to get those Evos as fast as possible with the highest chance of hitting them and stuff like that.
For sure, definitely. And that being said, those decks that are relatively simpler to play, it doesn't mean that it's super easy, super easy to pick up. There are a lot of choices that you still make within those decks. But yeah, it doesn't only just come down to draws. That's too much of a simplification. One thing I will say, one of my biggest pet peeves, it really grinds my gears, is when people say that Pocket is like luck based, purely luck based. There's no skill. And to that I say,
it's actually insane.
It's a card game. Inherently, there will be luck involved. You're drawing a card every turn, so it's already a game of probabilities. But the skill of the game comes in maximizing your chances of success. If you're using like a strategy to optimize that success, no matter what is thrown your way, seeing what you can do with what you're given and the information you have, that is the skill aspect of it. So, yeah, I said my piece. Hopefully that quells the debate, but
no, I agree though. There's skill expression in a lot of things that people don't realize with quote unquote like a simpler game versus like I don't know. I always have this moment. I'm like people like this game is so luck. For those who don't know, we're waiting for the game to start. Still, they're having a little bit of a bio break. We wanted to watch this matchup. So we'll get into it in a second. But it's like, yeah, in this game, it seems really simple. Like you have a very laid out thing or whatever. It's 20 cards. But even in League of Legends, right? You walk by a bush, there's a random chance there is someone in the bush and they're going to jump out and gank you and you get knocked out. There is a random chance I'm walking down the street, like I'm sitting here streaming and my ceiling could fall on me. There's RNG in literally everything we do. But that doesn't mean that there's not still a lot of skill, because we do see that like almost 50% every single week of the top cut are players who have top cut before. And there are some players who top cut tournaments upwards of 30+% of their matches, which is really, really good in card games in general. So hopefully we'll be able to get into this match in just 1 second here. And then it looks like we're starting. So we'll be getting into it literally in 1 second once they set up their board. But yeah, I definitely agree. It's a little bit of a tilter sometimes. They'll be like, you just top decked. Well, yes, there's 3 cards left in my deck. There was very low odds that it was not going to be the card that I wanted. Like,
Exactly.
but
Yeah, it looks like hopping into game, long-awaited game. So we have this Eevee box deck versus that Oricorio deck. Let's see how they choose to set up. I'm going to make a wild guess and say that the Eevee box player is going to play an Eevee in the active spot.
Whoa, are you sure?
Yeah. I mean, I was thinking about it. It's like mulling over all the options. I think it's probably the best strategy.
I think it could be a good strategy. Yeah, I think it could be a good strategy.
I'm kind of just like a revolutionary like that. So I just think about the game differently. But yeah, some people just aren't there yet. It's all good though.
Cat doesn't like my ceiling collapsing comparison, but there's randomness in everything, bro. You know, is my point. That being said,
not wrong.
Let's see what Tommy draws or puts down as well, because definitely more of a choice there. It does look like, though, bringing the game up, we see an Oricorio, which is not what ST3 wants to see right off, right off the bat.
That Oricorio is that star piece, so having it up front and even not having any damaging Eevee, right? Your Eevee EX, it does 30 damage, but it's an EX. And then your other Eevee is the collecting one, so no damage to worry about on this Oricorio until there is that baby Leafeon on the board. So yeah, if you're ST3, you do not like to see that early Oricorio here.
Yeah, not at all. We are seeing here that first energy on Oricorio, but we need to evolve so Eevee's not being threatened, but we need the correct things to evolve too, which is the issue here.
And we do see that Froakie down too. With this energy, the electric energy, we have electric energy queued up as well. Not that the second one matters here. The first one is what matters here. We have one already. We can start swinging in with Oricorio next turn. So if we do see that Greninja, it could be pretty detrimental for this Eevee in the active spot if we're not evolving.
Yeah, definitely could be in a bad spot here. Let's see.
We do see a lot in the hand here. Let's see.
That's true. Looks like we have a third Eevee. Crazy. How do they have so many Eevees?
Yeah, I don't know.
You would think that, an Eevee box would need more than just Eevee.
Right. Like, how do you do damage with just a 30 damage attack from an EVX?
Yeah, or a collect. That doesn't seem like that does damage. Looks like we are going to
Okay, we see energy attached, yeah, to the active here.
You know what? There is no Giovanni in Tommy's deck, but there is a huge concern that those 3 cards could include a rare candy and a Greninja.
So now we are choosing to collect, which makes sense. We're still looking for that baby Leafeon. We do see the red card, though. You did not like to see that.
Sylveon, Leafeon EX, but we need Leafeon full stop.
And there's the rare candy Greninja.
Ouch.
Swinging in with the Oricorio on
Uh,
that one little Eevee with its energy, taking it out.
yeah, that's gonna take the first point for Tommy. We are definitely concerned as ST3 right now.
So the only chance we have is them not having a second Oricorio at any point, having Sabrina to be able to get this Oricorio out. But no matter what, we will need an answer for this Oricorio. Pokeballing here. I wonder what we're going to get. EVEX. Interesting. Did not see that one coming. Okay, we're attaching energy where? Ideally up front. The problem is we're swinging in for 70 with that Greninja ping. So let's see here. Putting our other EVX down. Gotta put him down to evolve him. So there we go.
So
We have this Leafeon.
at least they do have Leafeon. They're able to draw a couple more cards, but not like we can attack into Oricorio with this Pokemon.
Yeah, so with one EV down, as soon as he places the Sylveon, you know that he has to play his other Leafeons. So this Flareon is not going to be getting any usage now. We need to have that other baby Leafeon to deal with this Oricorio. And that's what that Leafeon in the active spot is there for. So next turn, it has the energy on itself, but next turn it can attach to the baby Leafeon if we were to get it.
Yeah. Looks like they're attaching to Greninja. Which we can wait a turn or so more, but definitely not happy in this situation, I feel like, as ST3.
Yeah, we see that ping onto the EVEX as well. You might be wondering why didn't he swing into Leafeon? But that's again because that biggest threat for that Oricorio is that baby Leafeon. So if we get it into ping range right now, if we see a Cyrus next turn to kill that EVEX, it's concedable, really. So we'll see. Without having that baby Leafeon, we're just using our Forest Breath on ourselves here. Can't swing in for 70 though, even if we did attach this Fire Energy.
Yeah, I mean, it will bring us back out of range of like a Cyrus Greninja attack, or Cyrus Greninja ping, or Choreo attack, but honestly, like, we need so many pieces. I mean, not so many pieces, but we need one very specific piece right now. We need one very specific piece right now, and it is many pieces away, especially after that Mars.
Yeah, so that's how Hand Disrupt just destroys the deck. If you want to use one of your EVs for Sylveon, you go ahead and do that. But then Hand Disrupt early on can be very detrimental for the game plan here. So now the second Oricorio is down as well. And unfortunately, not looking to...
There's Leafeon! There is a
We got
Leafeon!
him.
And perfect timing, honestly. Perfect timing.
So now if we evolve...
So we can evolve
Leafeon.
not Leaf, Eevee Bag to heal, KO Oricorio, and then Ninja still can't KO you. There's electric energy sadly coming.
Yeah, the Eevee Bag is really clutch here because it also means that he can't ping kill Leafeon if he wanted to do that. Switching out to the baby Leafeon here. Start swinging in. The worst part about it is that next turn that Leafeon cannot attack. So you can bring out your Oricorio and start swinging in here. If you bring out your Oricorio, because you do have Lightning Energy queued up, you can just swing in for a total of 70 here, forcing a retreat as well. Can come out with Greninja as well, so we can swing in for 80 total.
Yeah, a little bit of a problem is that we can't really do too much to this Greninja, I feel like, and they do hit Cyrus, which is going to go on and be game. But we still have 2 more matches, and ST3 could still bring it back here. ST3 could still bring it back. See if we can get a reverse sweep and have ST3 go to the top 4, but definitely did not seem great there. But it did take a long time to get Leafeon that time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This was me watching this is just me trying to I feel like I'm a mad scientist experimenting. Like how likely is it that you'll actually get this baby Leafeon? That's what I'm interested to see. But in that game, it turned out to be a little too late
Yeah.
to where it could be effective, but we also did see the Oricorio start. If we don't see Oricorios early on, we can actually see the other EXs in the game attacking. So we'll see.
Yeah, and there was a huge problem as well that Eevee being lost early because you do want at some point a Flareon to be able to deal with Greninja, deal with Giratina EX, but that just was not going to be how that game played out. We're going to be getting into our match 2 here in 1 second, and hopefully we'll be able to see a little bit, better luck for ST3, but we can start actually math calcing. Nabrix, I'm a math person. We can do it.
Sure.
Yeah, I was just like, no, I did. I was just saying a line. But we'll see if we can get the baby Leafy on here. Let's see. Oh, we're
If I
letting
was
them
to
set up
guess,
their
I
match.
would say it's an Eevee start.
Eevee start. Well, oh god, there's showing 3 Pokemon in the hand for Tommy, and it's
Yeah, it's
2
over.
Oricorio.
Yeah, let's just concede now. It just wasn't meant to be, I'll be honest, man. Double Oricorio. Well, and we're going first team, no energy advantage. Okay.
There's Eevee.
Let's
Who would have
see.
guessed
Let's
they'd have
see.
an Eevee? But they have an Eevee.
Yeah, I would be punching the air right now if I saw 2 Oricorios, but hey, it's still doable.
It's doable.
It's over until it's over.
It's not. You're right. We got this. It's never over till Tommy gets 3 points or you hit the concede button. His internet could go out at any time. Randomness.
True. Also very true. So we do see water energy and then
Ooh, Giratina.
lightning energy coming up. Giratina down, attaching, charging. Tommy's sitting pretty here.
There's a Leafeon EX, but we need the baby Leafeon as well. We've seen 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cards. There's probably 12 cards left in the deck. That is not great odds for our next card to be Leafeon, but I think there's 2 research as well.
Yeah, still no research is used yet.
For 3
So
cards,
we'll
we'd be happy to
see.
see. 4 cards, we'd be happy to see with Sylveon. So like a
So we do
33%
cape here.
chance we draw into a card we want next turn.
Yes. So we do see the cape here. So this means that if they do get the Greninja, they can't KO it with the Oricorio like they did last game. Learning from their mistake last game here. Collecting as well.
Not the card we want exactly. We hit the research last turn. Looks like we are going to attach the other Oricorio, so I do think there's no Greninja in hand, and we see the Bellow, so that is confirmed. Flareon EX as the next card. 2 cards left. 4 cards we still want. We're almost to a 50% chance.
But now we're just sitting and waiting. The longer we're trying to look for our Leafeon as well, the faster it is for them to get to their Greninja. And as soon as Greninja's down, Cyrus comes into play as well. So it could be very scary very soon.
Yeah, it definitely could be. It looks like, I'm assuming we're just going to collect here again, but definitely this is where you're like, man, I wish I had Sprigatito so I could like, meow for help. But we had the Leafeon, so it was the same thing. Essentially,
Right. Yes. Okay. We got the Leafeon EX. We can evolve in the active spot. Oh.
No, not the Mars right there. But I don't think Greninja then. I don't think Greninja.
We
No
spent
Greninja.
our entire life savings into investing into getting that baby
We
Flareon,
did,
our
and
Leafeon, and
we didn't
it's
even get
just
another Eevee.
it's just ripped straight out of our hands, never to be seen
Ouch.
again. It's enough to make a grown man cry. I'm tearing up here, man. Oh my goodness.
We're gonna use a Sylveon EX to try to find more of our cards. Leafeon EX.
Still no other Eevee
I
now.
don't know what that would be.
Two more cards. How many cards are left in deck now? Would be
I don't know how many they're at. I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 to 11 cards back in deck now.
11.
Yeah, it doesn't feel good. But we still haven't used any researches. But we do have a Sylveon now, so we're down 3 cards that we want.
True. Charging Leafeon here, still can't attack. Double Oricorio. Yeah. This is rough.
Here.
Opponent still doesn't have Greninja, but it really doesn't matter too much. Has the energy built up on the Giratina as well. Can just start swinging in with Oricorio.
Yeah, we
So
finally have an Eevee, but not the card we exactly want right now. And we definitely want to get Leafeon back out of range of this Giratina attack. Because once they take 2 points, it doesn't matter if we have one Leafeon. It's kind of going to be close to a game over. But it does look like we're going to leave. And patch. It looks like it might be a pass here.
yeah, the problem is even with the Eevee Bag healing 20 HP, it still only puts it up to 130 damage, so it's still one-shottable by the Giratina. So there's no point in using the Eevee Bag here. But we're hoping that we can maybe get another Eevee Bag or top deck red to be able to KO Giratina. But if Giratina does swing in, it would be 130 HP. So assuming no cape. Hoping on a Flareon to try to KO it. It's the only chance we have.
There
And the
comes
player did use their
Giratina.
red card as well. Yeah, here it is. With no cape, it's just swinging in, leaving it 130 HP.
Yeah, that's not going to feel good here. We could potentially knock out with Flareon, but we don't have a way to set up a baby Leafeon now. Honestly,
So
this
now,
is where I like baby Flareon more. In my Eevee box, I run baby Flareon. And my understanding is there's some like because that way you don't have to rely on like the Leafeon EX to be able to like get you powered up. But
yeah, that makes sense. I think the biggest thing about the baby Leafeon is that you can set it up faster,
yeah,
assuming
for
that you
sure.
have the Leafeon EX on time, because you'd have to manually attach 3 times for the flamethrower
Yeah.
Flareon. But yeah, if
There's
you
like pros and
evolve
cons for
that,
both.
yeah, if you evolve that Flareon to get that kill, you no longer have a way that you can set up your baby Leafeon. So
Yeah.
we see the concede there.
And
Very
that is
unfortunate matchup.
very 2-0 for Tommy.
Hmm
Really checking to see how the. Oh, and that seems like it's gonna be our last of our top 8, which means we now get to watch our top 4. We do watch both top 4s like separately. So our first matchup is gonna be Greninja Oricorio into Silvally Oricorio.
Sounds good. The Battle of the Oricorios here.
Exactly. Let me get to the game. I'll bring it up so that people can see our 2 top 4s. But it is gonna be a I think fun match. We have the
For sure.
Oricorio Greninja versus the Silvio Oricorio, and then our second top 4, which we'll be watching later, we have Giratina EX Darkrai EX versus Sylveon EX Greninja, which obviously probably
Gotcha.
one Giratina EX. Hey guys.
There it is, Dark Tina in the top 4. The Dark Tina player, Criado, he's not running Nihilego, which is interesting. He's running on a relatively older build, you can say, that runs potions as well as 2 Rocky Helms, 1 Giant Cape. I like Nihilego version. I was a believer in no Nihilego. I do like having the Nihilego though, because it can deal with Oricorio very nicely. If you are running just the Darkrai and the Giratina, the only damage you can get on Oricorio is with the Rocky Helmet and Darkrai Chip. So you're kind of just relying on that and hoping that they don't have a way to heal their Shamans as well, enough to stall enough so they can build their hard hitters. But yeah, Dark Tina, here it is, Mr. Consistency himself.
Perfect. Yeah, we'll have to see how it does without the Nalago. That'll be an interesting one for sure. For now, let's hop into channel 12 here, and we'll get to watch the Zeraora, Silvally, or Choreo list. He beat me to it, Jack. He beat me to it this time.
So now, Silvally or Choreo. It's a deck that I ran in a tournament the other day. I actually really like it a lot. I got top 16. I think it's really cool. I think it's I wasn't a big believer in Zeraora, but now I understand its value, being able to generate that energy. Dawn plays are available. But in certain matchups, you don't even want to play it down. You kind of want to have 2 Oricorios and 2 type nulls with the EX heavy decks that you're versing. But it's interesting how there's versatility with it. So it definitely is a deck that you have to understand your matchup pretty well, understand the cards that they have as well, and see how you can work around it. But in this case, it's another Oricorio deck. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting because obviously Best or Choreo actually have an EX they can stop versus Tommy doesn't really have use for a Choreo here, minus just an attacker that can do 50 damage.
Yeah, so with the Giratina, Greninja, Oricorio, you have your Oricorios that can deal damage to Oricorio, obviously, and you also have Greninja, which is different in comparison to just running Giratina, Sylveon, Greninja, because only your Greninja there can deal damage. So you still have this other mon that you can rely on, but having those Cyruses to Cyrus in Oricorios that are on the bench as well to KO with a Greninja, for example, is really hard to deal with because you can't invest too much healing into your Oricorios. Like committing a cape to it is very committal because you usually want to save it for your other mons. But with the Silvally Oricorio list, I believe it doesn't have really any healings, whether it's cape or PCL. It does have cape. Okay.
That makes a lot of
So
sense.
yeah. It's running 1 Zeraora. So I've seen 2 Oricorios, 2 Zeraora builds, but this one is opting for 1 Zeraora, 2 Oricorio.
Interesting. So we'll have to. I mean, I feel like that could be a concern when you go against decks that are low still on EXs, like, Tommy's. Well, I guess Tommy's isn't really low, but it does have just a different attacker being Greninja, and 2 of them instead of just 1. But we'll have to check it out. And with that, we are going to be starting our top 4 here. Hype Null, just as you'd like for Best Aria. Versus Tommy, who's starting with an Oricorio that pretty sure is weak to fighting. Which, actually, this is not a fighting type, so it doesn't matter. I just don't want to see it with fighting energy.
True. But yeah, even then, getting that 20 damage on it, potentially getting Gladion, or just straight up getting Silvally with a supporter to be able to hit for 100 as well, means that it could be KO'd relatively quickly, so we'll see. We did draw the Oricorio here, which we do need. So we have a choice of which supporter we want to use this turn.
Let's see. We have Professor's Research going to come down.
Second Oricorio as well.
Okay, 2 Oricorios here for Best. Energy attached to the type Null. If we hit heads, this Oricorio is basically immediately in range, and it does hit heads.
Leaving at 30 HP. In a world where we don't get Silvally, we can even Gamba and go for the head slip again. We'll see what happens and what our draws will look like. On the other side, we have Electric Energy that we don't really want to commit to this Oricorio because it's most likely out next turn. We're looking for any other mons, and if not, that energy is most likely just going on that Giratina and full charging as well. No attacks coming out because we don't have the energy yet. So we're just taking it slow.
Yeah.
Attaching to Ori.
There's a red card to put best hand back into the deck and pull new cards. Trying to bet, I feel like, on the chance that, he'll draw mainly Pokemon, but we'll have to see here. Does look like best hits a Zero Aura at least on that top deck.
And we see the type null and Gladion, so that means that this Gladion is a guaranteed Silvally.
Yep, there's Silvally coming down now, and Giratina is not ready to attack next turn, which means this Silvally, if we have another supporter, could be doing a lot of damage.
So now we just attach and KO the Ori. 100 damage didn't really matter here, but we obviously used the supporter to get that Silvally in the first place. And now Giratina is in the active spot with 2 energy to its name, trying to survive.
Trying to survive. And, we do have the research Pokeball.
Get second Oricorio. We do want to see Greninjas here. Okay, Froakie as well.
We have Cape.
So with 2 Oricorios early on the board, we don't even necessarily need to swing in to the Giratina.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah. So we are gonna have a research, meaning we are swinging for 100 here, and but luckily we do have type null as well, so we could swing. We will need to find a Silvally probably in the next couple of turns, but we could also, I guess, set up an Oricorio to finish off with.
So we're most likely going to see the hit because we do also play Osiris, so we can play for Osiris here, attaching energy to the Oricorio.
We're gonna do 100 into the Giratina EX now.
And then if there was to be a revenge KO, Giratina would be doing 20 damage to itself, leaving it at 50, so Oricorio could take it out. So if there's no healing, you can't swing. So we're most likely going to see the retreat. Yeah, no water energy as well. Because the list does run 1 Irida. So no water energy on the Giratina, no healing for it.
Yeah. Oricorio gets pinged by the Giratina.
And we do see the retreat into the Oricorio, yeah.
I find that really interesting because obviously all we need, right, is just one supporter here. We hit a Pokeball. Kind of in an awkward position with our supporters, if I'm being honest.
We are still able to activate the Dawn, not that there's necessarily a need for it. And kind of, you do want the other energy on your bench Mons. You don't need 3 energy on the Silvally here. So Sabrina could be interesting. The opponent is forced to bring out their Greninja, dealing 100 damage to it.
I don't think it really does anything though, because they can just retreat back. And there's an energy on Greninja already, so Giratina would be ready to go.
The thing to watch out for that prevents, yeah, there's a Sabrina. The thing that to worry about is if there ever is that water energy on the Giratina, getting it back to 110 HP, which means that if it's sitting on the bench, you can't Cyrus it with your Silvally. But here we do see that Sabrina getting the 100 damage on the Greninja.
It's true, there is a Cyrus for we need to with the Greninja. And because we left the energy on the Oricorio and the type null, Giratina EX, if it does come up to attack, will be in range of an Oricorio attack.
Yeah, still no water energy for this turn. Might be sitting on Aerodon hand. We'll see. This Greninja is 20 HP. Even if we were to KO like one Oricorio, we still have another one to deal with, and with no Greninja, no energy on the Oricorio as well. Could be pretty rough to deal with, yeah. So we're committing the energy and swinging.
Okay, so other
Retreating.
Oricorio back up to the active spot. We're just stalling, I guess, for until we
Yeah.
get like piece. Do we even have points? Let's see. We don't have any heals. We have a giant cape.
And
We have a giant cape.
there's the Cyrus.
There's a Cyrus, and that's gonna be game 1.
There it is. Yeah,
Let
only so
them.
much you can do there. I guess retreating with that or Greninja, you kind of need to. Keeping the water energy on it, hoping for Irida, but even then, yeah, it's tough. So we'll see.
Let them get set up here into the second match. But is there anything you want Tommy to do differently, maybe, that you think could help him win this next game and bring it back?
The thing is, sitting with an Oricorio up front, it's just going to be destroyed by that type null and that Silvally, and there's not a lot you can do to prevent that from happening. Because you have
Mm-hmm.
to think about where you'd rather want that damage. You kind of have three options, whether you want it on your Oricorio, your Greninja, or your Giratina. And by process of elimination, you don't want your Greninjas to be taken out early because you need to apply that extra pressure. You need them to be able to deal with the other Oricorios as well. And then you don't want damage on your Giratina, obviously. So you kind of have to tank as long as you need time to build up your Giratina. So it's kind of tough. Kind of tough. I guess the best way to go about it is hoping that you can play around the type nulls and Silvallis and you don't see them early on. Or Cyrusing in, trying to get rid of energy. But we'll see. As we hop into the next game, we'll see how the players adapt and what they can do.
Let's see. Let's see. We are starting. It's Oricorio in the active again. Tommy going first once more. Best again, starting with type null. This time with Zero Aura on the bench though.
So now we have the Zero Aura. That energy can be donnable later. It does mean that if there is a Sabrina, it has energy to retreat as well, so energy could be committed elsewhere. But we do see the Oricorio, Greninja, Eevee on the other side of the board. We'll see the prof from Bestiary here. Didn't get too much that he can really play around with. Attaches the cape to the active null and swings. Tails this time around, leaving Oricorio at 50 HP.
Yeah, so we are going to need a Silvally next turn then to KO this Oricorio. But we're only going up to 1 energy here versus, the 2 where we will be able to attack. Ooh, okay, so we do have Sylveon this game. We did not hit Sylveon at all last game. Pokeball coming down as well. Potentially a Giratina, but also a chance for another Oricorio or a Froakie. And it looks like we're actually just going to put the Froakie down. I mean, we're putting supporters back, but we're not putting a Silvally back. Sabrina, Oricorio. Ooh. Let's see if we top deck the Silvally.
We saw the red card as well, which makes me think that they do have either Rare Candy or Greninja in hand and they don't want to be hand disrupted. But also to serve the purpose of getting rid of supporters in hand. We did see Gladions in hand previously,
Yeah.
which would have given us a chance, 2 and 3 chance to get Silvally.
Yeah, 66.
So now, yeah, now we have the type null, but no way to get Silvally on the board here.
None just yet. Looks like we are putting down Oricorio onto the bench. I mean, I always forget, because it normally doesn't happen this way. Type Null's retreat is 2, where Silvalee's retreat is 1. So it's like, oh, we could retreat back, we would need Silvalee to retreat, but you could just attack Silvalee. We had Silvalee, but we do hit heads this time, which will put Oricorio to 10 health.
There it is. Let's see. What can our Sylveon player do now? We are committing all of our bench spots here to the 2 Froakies. So I'm assuming that there will be a Greninja this turn. Might be mistaken. We are switching out to the Sylveon. Yeah, no Greninja.
Oh,
Okay.
still no Greninja, and kind of in a precarious spot as well.
Yeah, you know it's bad when they're putting the Sylveon EX up front to tank.
Yeah.
Because if there was a Silvally, it would be hitting for 100. So let's see what our Silvally player can do here. Yeah, dancing around with their Mons as well means that they're using that energy to retreat. So we're only seeing 1 energy on the other side of the board. Meanwhile, we have 3, 4 now here.
That's
So
really
let's
nice
see.
for us. Not so nice for them. But
Mhm.
we need our Silvally to take advantage of this tempo.
And there's a Mars. Sometimes Marsing when you don't have your Silvally means that you can still mess up their game plan. Like sometimes you don't want to Mars when you only have type null because you want to save a guaranteed supporter that you can use to guaranteed hit for 100. Because you don't want to be in a spot where you have like Cyrus, for example, where nothing on the bench has damage, so you can't activate the damage, or Sabrina where they don't have anything on the bench. Mars you can always use whenever you have it in hand, unless your opponent has 0 cards in the deck, I guess. Or in deck and hand. But yeah. So using the Mars there, disrupting their strategy, still no Greninja, so it was a good Mars.
Yeah, really nice Mars still. Yeah, I always have this like problem myself with like, obviously if they're not putting the Greninja down right now, right? They most likely don't have both Greninja and Candy in hand. But at a certain point, so like, with that in mind, shouldn't Mars, right? Shouldn't Mars. But at some point, they probably have one of the 2 in hand. They probably do just in general. And then at a certain point, it's going to be, at what point does it get higher odds that they'll draw into it? I guess is what I'm trying to say, right? Like high enough odds that they'll draw into the last piece they need for you to Mars. And I'm never really sure when that is. That's the one I struggle with the most.
Yeah, it's a difficult call. We get the heads here. I don't think I've ever seen a Silvally player not have Silvally at this point in the game. I'm not gonna lie.
We're very far in the game. We still don't have it. I would agree. I also don't think either we researched early, but we have not seen research since we are red carded.
Still have 2 Gladions in the deck as well. Let's see here.
Thanks, Yumi Soda.
Water energy? Yeah, this is quite an interesting game. I don't think I've seen this board state for either of these decks ever at this point in the game.
We're both definitely
Maybe
breaking.
Silvally. So we do have this 80 HP Sylveon, which means that it is in Silvally range. So that's something to worry about. We don't have Greninjas on the board. We have a 10 HP Oricorio. So we're both bricking, but the Silvally player does have the advantage.
Let's see. Yeah, Silvally player definitely the advantage here. I mean, 7 seconds. I don't really think there's a play. There's a giant cape onto the Froakie. And pass. Okay. We hit Pokeball. Bro, where's our Silvally?
Dude.
Where's our Silvally?
It's
Um,
crazy because this Sylveon could have been taken out, like, so long ago, but it
yeah.
lives to see another day. Like, this is insane. Okay, we get a type null from the Pokeball, which means that when we do get Gladion, it's guaranteed a Silvally, but we'll see.
Yeah, there are odds if we hit Gladion, it would have been another type null with how this game's
Mhm.
going.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
let's see
But
here.
now, with the second type null, does it make sense to put the type null down or the Oricorio? I would go type null.
Yeah, same. I think I'm type null as well here. Uh, can we please have us? Can someone please evolve a card? Let's put it that way. Can someone? I'm not gonna say Silvally. Can someone evolve a card? Though honestly, it could probably be kind of tragic if we saw like a double. We saw like research double Greninja, double ping. Greninja goes to active spot, knocks out. That would be a tragic turn of events. Don't know I want it, but
That would be insane. Let's see. Sylveon, I mean, surely we have,
come
Greninja Rare
on.
Candy by now, right? 5 cards left in deck. Surely we got a frog that wants some candy, right?
For sure, there's a certain point where Tommy has to be like, man, I wish I was wearing psychic energy.
Yeah, true.
Like
But
there would
also
definitely be a
another
game plan if there was psychic energy here.
true. Another part of that too is that at this point in the game, it's too late to oh my no,
There's
we just had
Gladion! When it doesn't matter. That's always how it happens, bro.
that is crazy.
I use doesn't matter very loosely. But
But yeah, with that no psychic energy, it means that Giratina would have to take 3 turns to be in play. So that's the thing about running this deck, this Oricorio Greninja Giratina deck, is that at a certain point, if you don't get your Giratina, you just have to play the rest of the game without the Giratina and hope that everything that you pulled so far throughout the course of the game that you were able to develop around can carry you through to the end of the game.
mm-hmm.
So we won't be seeing Giratina down, and we have a 60 HP Sylveon down. Finally get the first point of the game.
First point of the game. How many turns in was that? I missed it, my bad.
Yeah.
Turn
Turn
13.
13 we're going into.
Okay, rare candy.
Mhm.
There's Greninja. There's Giratina, but I
Giratina?
think it may be too late. We have Cyrus,
Yeah.
it'll be game over. Okay,
There's the
Mars.
Mars. So opponent did have Cyrus in hand. Ooh.
And we hit it again.
Yeah, Mars is an op, bro. Like, Mars just never works, man. Crazy.
Let's
And there it is, swinging on that Silvally, and that is game. Wow.
yeah, let's see. There's that Cyrus, and that's gonna put Best into our finals.
Yeah, might be the strangest 13, 14 turns of Pocket I've ever watched in my entire life, I'm not gonna lie. That was
You've never seen him go brick?
that was quite something. To that extent, I don't think
Not
so.
to that extent, yeah.
But wow. What a game.
For sure. Do you have preference on watching Darkrai Giratina POV or the Sylveon Greninja No Oricorio POV?
Ooh. Preference? Maybe from the perspective of the Sylveon player.
Okay, so let's hop then to channel 18.
hmm Here we are. I figured, I think the people have already seen enough Dark-tina. So, let's see how it is on this end of the matchup.
Let's see. Let's see. Um,
But yeah, Dark-tina.
oh, I'm accidentally showing
Consistency,
us.
consistency. Yeah, so Dark Tina into this matchup is interesting. If you can get early Greninjas to Cyrus, it could be pretty scary. But again, if you can get your Dark Tina and your Darkrai and your Giratina up and just start charging, it's a lot of damage that you can't really do it that well. And the Dark Tina player, looking at their list, they do have one copy of Red as well. So the magic number for a Cape to Giratina, assuming that it's healthy, is 170 because you can swing in for 130 with Giratina, Red plus Darkrai Ping. So you can deal up to 170 damage, but things need to align. The Darkrai also runs Guzma, so you can get rid of a cape, and you know that the other player is only rocking one cape. So if there's no other supporter you need to use for turn, you can just use that Guzma, get the cape out of the way so you don't have to deal with it later, and then can save your supporters in later turns to be able to use ones that you directly need to use at that moment in time.
Uh, yeah, very, very, very true. Um, Looks like we're checking out Creato's list, and they should be getting started here. Once they have their first cards down, then we will get into our match.
Mm-hmm.
So,
So let's see
restarting the
how
apps.
effective no poison build is, because I do think that there are better chances with that Nihilego getting
Mm-hmm.
that extra poison. Not only is it almost the same, if you have the Nihilego down, it's also doing 20 damage, right? But it's also doing 20 damage at the end of their turn if they don't retreat. And so it kind of forces you to retreat in some way, which can mess up your energy. So that's kind of the added benefit of having these poison builds with the Dark Tina as opposed to just Rocky Helm Chip. So we'll see.
Here, we are getting started. It looks like our Pepin is going to be going first. Um, uh, and then our opponent is going second, and we are starting Eevee into a Darkrai.
So we have the two EVs set up already. It's Dark Tina, but we get our Tina down first, and we can start charging it up. It does mean that the Darkrai player does have energy advantage, so they can start chipping away by attaching to this Darkrai. We'll see if they have their own Giratina as well. The later they get their Giratina, the worse it is for them. So we'll see what they have.
Yeah. We are going to ping for 20 with that energy attach. And on the other hand, I mean, do we have Sylveon? That could definitely help us find some of these different cards. I wouldn't be surprised if we're looking for the Throkies, but we're just slowly building up that energy on Giratina.
Yeah, and we did get a Psychic Energy too, so that really matters. We have 3 Psychic Energy on the Giratina after attaching and charging that double charge last turn. We see a Leaf used with
Okay.
no other Mons, so just burned Leaf.
Yeah, we're just trying to, I think, thin our hand in worries of red card Mars, things like that. There is a red card and a Mars in Pepin's list. So definitely a valid concern. We're attaching to the cape, and we're just going to collect because no reason to retreat just yet.
And we're keeping here so that it doesn't die to the ping, which makes a lot of sense. It may seem like a wasted cape, maybe better usage elsewhere.
Ooh,
We do
Guzma.
see the Guzma. We do end up getting that ping kill regardless.
And second
Second
Darkrai.
Darkrai down.
I wonder, right? Do you attach your energy to the active spot, Darkrai, where you would be able to attack this turn as well? Or, right, do you attach it to that Darkrai? Because there's a chance Pepin, that Creato's Darkrai with all the energies on it could be knocked out this next turn.
And that's why he did red card, right? Because if he does get Greninja online, he would be able to KO the Darkrai, assuming no cape. So if he does swing into this Eevee here, has to put up the Giratina.
Yeah, we give him a second point as well with that.
Mm-hmm.
Giratina to the active spot. If we can find that Greninja, it's oh, there's Candy, and that's Greninja, which does mean this
Wow.
Darkrai is gonna be KO'd here.
Wow, wow, wow. Oh my goodness.
Oof.
No cape on the Darkrai, and it means that it is out of here. All that energy that we spent building it up is now gone, and we have a Darkrai on the bench that has nothing. We'll see.
Yeah, that's super rough. We do Pokeball and get a second Froakie, but there's gonna be a concede, and we're gonna be going to game 2.
Very rough. I jinxed it. I was talking about how consistent Dark Tina is, and then we brick on Tina. So, yeah, a little bit of a caster's curse there. That's my bad.
I mean, to be fair, we didn't brick on Tina. We bricked on Darkrai.
Mm,
There's
yeah,
only 2
like
Darkrai's.
true. Yeah, like we
If
bricked
Tina
on
was there,
getting the
we'd be
Tina.
happy.
Yeah, yeah.
Letting them get into their game 2 here. I mean, if Pepin can do the same thing over again, we'll be going to our finals.
Mm-hmm. So let's see. As they hop into the next game, we'll see if we can get our board set up in an ideal way. Last game, we did see that we had Psychic Energy to be able to attach to our Giratina to charge it up even faster. We'll see what the energy looks like this game, and if it's in the favor of our Giratina Greninja Sylveon player. Starting off the game here, we have Froakie in the active spot. On the other side of the board, we see Darkrai in the active with Giratina in the bench. So we do get our Giratina this time around. Use our Prof here, our Pokeball, start thinning. We see Giratina ourselves.
Giratina
Can start charging now.
Let's see.
Seeing Giratina that early is always really clutch, considering there's only one copy of it. You can get literally any of your other basics. We see the red card from the opponent. So we want to delay this Greninja as much as we possibly can.
For sure. It looks like we are going to be hitting into that Froakie, though, with our hand attach ability. I mean, we're going to have to bellow, but not much else we can do this turn just yet.
Mm-hmm. The first couple turns of Dark Tina are simple. You just attach the energy and bellow because there's not much else you can do. Then when you get to the point where you can actually start attacking is where you have to think about where you want to attach your energy. And then there's Darkrai Chip to worry about. So now we see this Darkrai Chip here.
Mm-hmm.
If this Froakie doesn't have any healing in terms of a cape or evolving, and it stays in the active spot, it would just be a ping kill. So you have to see what will happen on this turn here.
Let's see, there's a second Froakie. Without any heals, this can be kind of disastrous, losing 2 points, potentially taking 80 damage to Giratina next turn.
Mm-hmm. And this time around, the Darkrai does have that cape on it, so we can't rely on a ping from Greninja to bring it into lethal range, because that ping plus Giratina attacking just does 150, but it is at 160 here.
Yeah. That third energy to that Darkrai. But because we swapped, it is safe from being KO'd right now. Okay, from the ping. Let's reword that. KO'd from the ping.
Mm-hmm.
But the awkward thing with going second for Darkrai Giratina is you do need to pass another turn to get that energy, and it looks like we do decide to do that there. Research does appear in our hand, which could be huge here, depending what we draw.
Mm-hmm.
There's Research.
No Eevee on the board, so no Sylveon. So just using our research here to deduct in as much as we can, and we do get rare candy to get that Greninja. So we'll see what we ping here. The opponent only does run one cape, so the Giratina in the back is max 150 HP. So if we get our Cyrus online,
Mm-hmm.
we'd be able to ping the Giratina in the back, Cyrus it in, and kill with our own Giratina. It makes sense to ping with our Greninja on the Darkrai in the active spot that is that 160 HP. Again, you're relying on no healing. They do have healing in the form of PCL and Potion. And a rare flop from the Froakie in the active hitting for 10.
Yeah, and there's a Mars trying to decrease the chance of them hitting whatever thing they're worried about here.
So we do see we had Cyrus in hand. And now we'll see what happens next. We'll see.
Let's see. Looks like energy onto the Darkrai on the bench puts us to 20. But after that attack from Froakie, it's in range of this Giratina. But we do need tape something to keep that Giratina out of range of a Darkrai, a Greninja. Ugh. A Giratina attack.
So now we do have that 3 Psychic Energy on the Giratina ready to go. So if we do come in with the Giratina ourselves here and swing in, we will be in lethal range.
Let's see. There's Cape.
We get the cape. Wow.
And it looks
nice.
like we're going to ping the... Oh, and we're going to go on and take out the Giratina here, which is probably going to go in and seal Criado's fate for a game 2, it looks like.
With the cape as well, if there was no cape, there's a chance if we have red in hand, because then we'd get the ping plus weakness damage plus red damage, so we'd be doing 140 damage total. But with that cape, even a red doesn't get us there. If we do red though, we would tie. Guzma is also a possibility, but you can't Guzma and red, of course.
Yeah.
So we'll see what the Darktina player has in hand.
Yeah, it looks like we are going to do that. Ping is, I mean, there's red, but as you said, it is going to keep us just out of range here from getting KO'd. We do need something to heal us, though, right?
We cannot swing in because then our Giratina ourselves would be taken out. We did see that red there, which is very nice. We don't have any healing outside of this cape that's already on it, so the Giratina is staying at 10 HP. So the question is, what do we do now?
Yeah, I wonder if
We
it's
can go
like
for the tie.
You go for tie, which is definitely an option.
Yeah.
Which isn't a bad idea.
If this was a ranked game, I just attack with Giratina and take the tie. But this is not ranked. This is top 4 of the Ursiiday Pocket Weekly number 33. So let's see.
And it does. I think we ping onto the other Giratina and hope they don't have the leaf. Wait. Okay, we're going for the tie. Let's do it.
Yeah. Safe play, safe play.
Yeah,
if you're hoping that they don't have a card, they always have it. That's like rule number 1 of Pocket.
Yeah.
But that being the first game, that means it's 1-1 in the set and they go to a game 3, right?
It's game 2, right? Game 2 was Darkrai, and they had no energy on the bench of Darkrai, and so Pepin wins the series.
Right. Yes, so that was game 2. So for those of you who don't know, ties in this specific tournament, if you tie, it counts as a win and a loss. So that is game 2 and 3 results right there. So it is a win. Definitive win there.
Definitive win, and Pepin is going to take the series, which means we're going to be going into our top 4 now. I do need to run a really quick ad so that nobody misses, anything. So let me see here when it's gonna go black screen so that I can run the ad, and outside one GZ and everything. But
we're gonna be going into finals now, right?
yeah, we're gonna go into finals.
Nice.
In just a quick second here.
Nice, nice, nice. And here it is. So we have the Silvally Oricorio, and we have the deck that we were just watching, the Greninja. These two are very strong. I definitely expected to see them. I didn't expect this high of a performance for the Silvally Oricorio, actually. I was expecting a lot more fighting than there actually was in this tournament. But yeah, that's part of the reason why in ranked, you might not feel like you're seeing the best fruits of your labor when you're running Silvally Oricorio Zeraora, because there's a lot of fighting out there, and it will definitely be a tough time. But in tournament, it is very effective against a large part of the meta landscape at the moment right now. So we're seeing a really good result here in the finals of the Ursiiday Pocket Weekly number 33. I love saying the full title, if you haven't noticed.
No, I support it. I support it.
But yeah, very cool.
Yeah, I mean, the Ursiiday Pokemon Pocket Weekly number 33, and we're about to watch a Silvally Oricorio versus a Sylveon EX Greninja. What are some of your feelings going into this match?
Yeah, so the biggest thing is Silvally Oricorio needs to be able to set up their Silvallis on the bench to be able to swing into the higher HP Mons. So usually you want to have your Zeraora up, you can have your Oricorio up to tank the damage from potential Sylveons and Giratinas. So the only thing that can actually do damage to that Oricorio is this Greninja. So if you can manage to work around the fact that they can have early Greninjas, early pings onto Oricorios, Cyrusing them in to take them out, it could be pretty rough for the Oricorio player. But on the opposite hand, if you get double Oricorios and you're able to build up your Silvallis to be able to swing in for high amounts of damage, it could be a rough spot for that Sylveon Greninja player. So it really could go either way.
This is going to be, it sounds like it's going to be such a fun finals then. I'm really excited to see, honestly, how it plays out. Do you have preference on which point of view we watch from?
Let's watch from the Silvally Oricorio player.
Okay, so Silvally Oricorio is going to be the other guy. Let's see, are they?
In 12, right?
They're in 12, yes, correct.
All right, let's.
And then we'll be able to get started here in just a minute. We gave them a 2-minute break to quickly get all ready, and people have been playing a lot of games today, and then we'll be able to get into our match.
Yeah, it's a long road to get to these finals here. So big congratulations to these two players having to go through the hours of playing yesterday in the Swiss rounds, making it through the hours of playing today. It definitely takes a toll. So I've been there. I've been playing Pokemon Pocket. I've been in spots where I'm playing Pocket for a lot of hours at a time, and by the end of it, I'm just making misplay after misplay, and I just log off. So let's see how the players are dealing with that fatigue from playing for this long. If they can still bring their A game, it's definitely a high pressure situation. They're in the finals. Just getting here is a victory, really. It's an achievement. Let's see if they can take it the extra step and claim the crown this week.
One thing that I would call it skill. Maybe there's a different word for it. That people never expect in video games or any games. Basically, is every game has its own stamina. I feel like that you have to build up to a game. Like even if you're used to playing like let's say like TFT for 16 hours straight, it's not the same like stamina for any other game that you play. And so having the stamina to do 6 hours yesterday, we're up onto hour 3.5 today. As you said, you know, you can really get tired. You can start making misplays, and not doing that at this far into the tournament, very difficult, and we'll have to see how they end up doing here. It is going to be Bestiari against Pepin, which is going to be a very fun match here. We are watching from Best's point of view, and we are officially in the finals.
Hopping into the finals of the Ursiiday Pocket Weekly number 33. Let's go.
You
we finally
forgot a
made
whole
it.
word there. Maverick.
Ursiiday Pokemon Pocket Weekly. Ah, there it is.
There we go. There we go.
There
And we are going to
it
be
is.
getting into our next match in just a second. Or letting our players put their first cards down, but it looks like Best is going to be going first in this matchup, and here is the game.
Yes, we see the Type Null in the active spot. Double Eevee's down, Froakie's on the other side of the board. Going first with Type Null, not the best. You want to be going second so that you have energy advantage attached to your Type Null and swing, and then you can evolve to your Solgaleo next turn to hopefully swing in for 100. But going first here, let's see how he plays out the basics in his hand. Uses Gladion to deck thin, which I always like.
Mm-hmm. And it does look like we are going to have a Zeraora this turn. So let's see.
So we will be getting that energy from the Thunderclap Flash. Really cool ability. But, if you get it later in the game, doesn't work. But we got it here, and that's what matters. So now we see an attach to the Eevee and just start collecting. Start collecting the cards that we need to win the game.
That's an interesting draw. It looks like we're going to be able to go on. Dawn's going to be able to push that energy that Zeraora has generated from that ability onto the Silvally, which also triggers Silvally's effective attack, which means he'll be swinging for 100 here.
That is the play that every Silvally Zeraora player dreams of. They want to get their Zeraora up and then get that Dawn, and it worked out perfectly in this situation here. KOing that 1 energy Eevee. So now we have Froakie in the active spot brought up.
There is going to be the rare candy as well, which should protect it from being KO'd this turn. Sylveon EX on the bench.
So now both of these mons take 2 energy to attack, so we won't be seeing an attack this turn. But we will see that 20 damage ping from the Greninja, and where he chooses to ping is very important here. We do have a Silvally fully charged up in the active spot. See where he chooses to ping.
Let's see here. Yeah, I would assume it's onto the bench, but it actually doesn't look like. Oh, we're still 2 turns away from having the energy to attack with with Greninja. I was kind of thinking we would attack here and then attack to knock out next turn, but that is not the case at all.
Yeah. So pinging here means that you can commit your energy to the Sylveon to hit for 70 plus 20 plus 20 over the course of 2 turns. So then that is that 110 HP mark that we hit there. So we're trying to see if we can hit the Greninja for 100 by using a supporter, the only supporter.
Looks like we are going to use a Giovanni.
So we have the Giovanni here, bringing the Greninja to 10 HP, which kind of sucks. I said it before, it sucks to see a Mon live with 10 HP, but here it is. Most likely seeing a retreat out of here. We want to keep Greninja alive.
Yeah.
So we bring out the Sylveon to potentially be able to swing in next turn. We got to make sure we use our Water Shuriken as well. There it is on the Silvally.
Okay.
So if there's no healing from the Silvally, it will be KO'd by the Sylveon here.
Energy onto Oricorio. The Cyrus goes up, pulls the Greninja back into the active spot. I mean, small issue, obviously, being that Sylveon KO's next turn. But you do have an Oricorio that is fully set up. But actually, we're going back to the Oricorio itself.
Yeah, we don't need to have our Silvally in the active spot, because if the Sylveon comes back up, it would revenge KO. So let's just put that Ori back in, swing in for 50, take the KO, and now we have 2 EXs on the board with an Ori in the active spot. So let's see what Pepin can do at this point in time.
Looks like we
Guess
already
the
have
Cyrus and the
Cyrus.
Silvally. Wow, nice, okay.
Hey. That's going to be all it needs to knock out Silvally. That is a point for Pepin now.
First point of the game, unfortunately. We did have a KO on the Eevee in the beginning, a KO on that Greninja there. So we do still have Froakie Greninja line in the deck. No Froakie in hand, otherwise it would have been played down at this point. But we have no other way of dealing damage to the Oricorio at this point here.
And it looks like we are going to zap.
So now Sylveon is 110 HP. If we had Silvally set up with Geo, we used Geo earlier, right? Yeah, we did.
I think we have 2 in this list? Yeah, we have 2 Geos in this list.
Yeah, there's 2.
We have Pokeball, and that's like a 50-50 type null or Oricorio.
It's Ori. Either way, you're kind of happy.
Only issue is like obviously at this point you expect that Pepin probably has a second Greninja.
The problem is though, the energy that he has up next is water anyways. If he had Greninja, wouldn't be taking out this Oricorio this turn, so it gives you time.
Well, I was
But we do
thinking
see
the ping onto Zeraora Cyrus up knockout with Sylveon. Is what I was thinking for this moment. But
right.
or even onto the type null, I guess. But.
Yeah. True as well. Because we did see one Cyrus out, but they do have another.
True. Or they normally do.
Retreats out. Yeah. Yeah, wait. Let's see.
There's a Mars. Puts Silvally back into the deck. Sabrina is run back into the hand as well, though. We hit Silvally. It's definitely game, but we don't hit Silvally. We hit a really interesting card, in my opinion. Because you can't use 2 supporters.
Unfortunately, Eevee Bag does not work on an Oricorio, so...
Also true, also true.
Let's see. So we do have these 2 weak mons in the back. We have the Sylveon on 60 HP. We used our Cyrus earlier to KO the Greninja. We have the double Oricorios up, so the Giratina in the active spot isn't as scary, old big and scary as you think it is. We just have these chickens doing the protection job. They're protecting the president here. Let's see.
Protecting the president. Is that Zeraora or type null?
Probably type null.
Okay, yeah, I would agree with type null. There goes the rare candy. And next turn, to be fair, there is a water energy that Greninja could be using. So
there's a Cyrus. So that's the second Cyrus of the game. So we need to be relying on the Greninja to KO the Ori. And that will happen because now we do have that water energy that we can attach to the Greninja. And our Oris are both 70 HP, meaning that a ping plus swing with the Greninja takes them out.
There's research. I don't think research I don't think research can find us anything here. I'm petitioning for a Thornton to be put into this game.
What does Thornton do?
Thornton takes a basic from your discard pile and changes it with a basic on your board, and it maintains all damage and energies.
Oh,
that are on.
interesting.
Yeah, so you would be able to like Thornton up a type null, and because the Oricorio has been there more than one turn, it could evolve into a Silvally.
Oh, I see, I
Yeah,
see.
that's my take. But I'm
Wait, that's
petitioning for
good.
that. I want it all the time for I don't know. Eevee box I want to like a way to pull something out of the pile.
Yeah, all we have is Celestic Town Elder, so.
Yeah. And this is gonna be a game over here. I yeah. I almost wonder if there's some world that you're supposed to retreat back to Zeraora.
Hmm. Yeah, because I mean, it would just be KO'd by the
Yeah, I guess that's
Giratina, right?
true. That's true.
Yeah. So they do run a cape in their list. So, but even then, you can just stall for one more turn. The big hitter is that type null Silvally. Getting
Mm-hmm.
Cyrus in and KO'd early means that the max they could do is 50 damage, and your Oricorio can only protect the president for so long. So, didn't do much of a good protection job. Type null was kind of just taken out quickly and swiftly. So,
Truly. We'll get set
but
up for
let's
game
see.
2, as will our players here.
Hopping into the next game. Let's see how they decide to set up their boards this time around. We do see Type Null in the active spot, Zeraora on the bench, facing off against this Eevee in the active spot. So let's see.
And this time we're going second as best.
Which you always like as a Silvally player.
Mm-hmm.
Opponent does get the Giratina, starts charging up. Let's see what we got. Oricorio, nice.
Okay, okay. We have that Ori coming onto the board here.
Let's see. No reason to not just
Yeah, for sure.
attach to type null and attack. We get that extra energy from our Zeraora as well. If we see a Dawn, it doesn't necessarily matter since we're going second this time around. We could just straight up attach the energy. So let's see. Let's see where that Dawn could be used.
Don't even know if we need a Dawn really here,
Yeah,
but
here we don't. In general, it's kind of just used later to activate the Silvally because you don't necessarily need energy on the Zeraora. But it can be
yeah,
nice if you want to like tank with the 90 HP Mon swinging for 50 instead of using your 70 HP Mon to swing in for 50.
that does make sense.
We see the Sylveon attached to Froakie and then charging Giratina.
Too bad we didn't hit heads last turn. We'd be in a very different position here. Assuming we can find that Silvally. But I almost wonder if you... Would you use a Sabrina here just to knock out one of the one-pointers on the bench? Or would you keep hitting into Sylveon?
I would probably keep swinging into Sylveon because if you're taking out the Eevee, it doesn't really mean much because he's not going to give you Giratina. He's not going to give you Froakie.
Makes sense,
So
yeah.
only other choice is that Eevee. And out of these four Mons that are on the bench between Sylveon, Giratina, Froakie, and Eevee, the one you'd want taken out is that Eevee if you had to get rid of one. So instead chooses to use his Gladion, gets a type null, puts it on the bench, charges the Silvally in the active spot. Has cape for his Oricorio this time around, and then swings in.
Swinging with that Silvally here and do 100 damage, and the Sylveon cannot attack. Greninja is up though.
Very fast Greninja evolution there.
Yeah. I feel like we need a second Silvally for sure. We do have a little bit of time.
We do see the Cyrus. So we're
Hmm.
Cyrusing up the type null that has no energy on it and retreating out with our Sylveon. So unless we were to get Silvally, to have that one retreat cost, we're not swinging in with our other charged up Silvally either.
Looks like your ninja is coming into the active spot. Interesting.
Yeah, so at this point, the Greninja can tank the damage. If your choices are between these two guys, between the Giratina and Greninja, Greninja's fine here. Because you can save your other Eevee as well to evolve into another Sylveon. But
Yeah, and get more cards.
right.
I
Because you would
absolutely
want
love
to play
Sylveon.
for like, yeah, like another Cyrus. But I do think coming in with Eevee would have been fine as well. But I guess his plan is he wants to attack with his Greninja.
Yeah.
He has the water energy on it. Can ping anywhere else. If there's no evolution on this type null, it means it's 60 HP, which means that water shuriken can be used anywhere else on the board, and you can just swing in. Gets the heads, bringing it down to 80 HP. Even if there was a cape, it would be 100, which is still in Silvally range. Retreats out to Giratina now.
Your retreat, Giratina, they will to swing here for, I mean, 130 damage, knocking out this type null. It will put us to 130, but hmm. One
So now we have
point
the
for
Giratina in
Pippin.
the active spot. Yeah. With no points, Giratina in the active. You're building up your Silvally so that you could swing in with a lot of damage, but at this point in time, you can't afford to lose your Silvally. So we're coming in with the Zero Aura here. We need to be able to get more than 2 of these Mons out of here. The Sylveon is just chilling with 20 HP in the back.
Let's
Attaching to the
see.
Zero Aura and swing in. Okay, this brings the Giratina to 80 HP. No water energy, so no Irida. Cape brings it to 110.
Here we have the water, we're gonna water shuriken. The Silvally on the bench. Do they have the Cyrus? Cape is onto the Giratina now.
I would imagine there is a Cyrus here for pinging. Yep.
Yep, and there's gonna be that Cyrus, which does mean we're gonna be able to go and KO that second big attacker by from best.
And now we have two Oricorios that are 70 HP, and we have water energy coming up for the Greninja to be able to take it out. The cape there was important though, because if we didn't cape our Giratina, if we had Geo, would have been able to swing in for 60, taking out the Giratina.
Yeah.
But now we just have our 70 HP Oricorios chilling here.
Let's see what
But
they
again,
decide to do.
yeah.
Obviously,
The water energy is just sitting there waiting to be placed on that
yeah,
Greninja.
is ready to go for sure.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like there's much that can be done at this point.
Yeah,
So we're
completely
just
agreed.
swinging in for 50.
Let's see, and they go back to the Greninja now, where it is obviously going to finish off that last point that Pepin needed, and that's going to be a 2-0 by Pepin in the finals. Fantastic job by Pepin, really showing off how strong that Sylveon Greninja deck really can be. Absolutely fantastic job by both Pepin and Bestiari. Huge shout out to both players being willing to play those matches and playing, as we said, almost 4 hours today, but 6+ hours yesterday as well. Huge shout out to both of them for being willing to stream all their games. We really, really appreciate that. But honestly, masterclass by Pepin. We watched some masterclasses by Bestiari as well with their deck. Fantastic, fantastic job. I do want to give a huge shout out to Navrix, and thank you everyone who watched today. But Navrix, thank you so much for coming on and co-hosting with me today. For those of y'all who do not know Navrix, he is a Pokemon Pocket content creator as well as a competitive player. You can follow him on YouTube if you want to be one of his first subscribers for when he posts a YouTube video. But you definitely should check out his Twitch channel and his Twitter as well, or X, formerly known as Twitter, channel as well. Navrix, would you like to talk about any of your content or anything like that?
Yeah, first and foremost, a big congratulations to Pepin and also all the competitors. I think I know what it takes to play in these tournaments, to win them. Hey, to win them. And also
Ursiiday Pokemon Pocket
how,
Weekly winner over here.
of course, Ursiiday Pocket Weekly number 26.
26.
But yeah, I know what it takes, and I know that it can be very mentally taxing. It can be pretty frustrating, especially if things don't go your way. And there's a lot that goes into actually pulling through, winning these tournaments, a lot of determination that you need. So big congratulations. And even if you didn't make top cut, even if you were just playing in the Swiss rounds and you didn't make it, you should not feel discouraged. Tournaments are so fun. I personally like tournament play a lot more than ranked, because ranked, anything can happen. But in tournament play, it feels a lot more skill-based, where you can look at your opponent's deck list and try to play these games. So I just want to say a big shout out to like the competitive Pokemon Pocket community, really. Whether it's tournament organizers or judges or competitors or the viewers watching at home, you guys are the reason that the tournament scene thrives to this extent and is as fun, as enjoyable as it is. So big shout out to you.
Yeah, huge shout out to all of the competitive scene. It has been so awesome watching this scene grow like the last couple, or almost the last year, actually now. But it is obviously only because our players are willing to show up almost every single weekend and play in these tournaments, putting in sometimes over 10 hours a weekend into the competitive scene. It's so awesome that 9 months into a scene, something like that, we're still having 700, almost 800 players playing these tournaments every single weekend, and so many people being willing and interested in watching the tournament. I do want to give a huge shout out to our sponsor as well, XP Collect, who puts up that 400 USD prize pool every single weekend. They have been being willing to do that since literally week 1 of Ursiiday's Pokemon Pocket Weekly, and it is so awesome that they would be willing to do that for our scene. It was obviously very fledgling week 1 of the scene when they first put that money in, and it has been so helpful to grow the scene. They really went out on a limb for our community doing that, and so I'm so appreciative to XP Collect for being willing to put up and being willing to sponsor our tournament every single weekend. If you're interested in supporting them or expressing your thank you to them as well, please make sure to text things like UrsiiBW to the phone number. It does help them know that you guys really are interested in the tournament and things like that. So thank you guys so much. I do though want to definitely give a huge shout out to all of our players. You guys do so much for us every single weekend playing this tournament, being willing to putting in so many hours, not only in our tournament but other tournaments as well. And we have such a fantastic competitive scene because of you guys. I do want to give a huge shout out to our viewers as well. We, me and my co-cast Navrix, as well as every other co-host we wouldn't have anyone to stream to if it wasn't for you guys, and we definitely wouldn't have such an awesome sponsor like XP Collect if it wasn't for you guys. So thank you so much for being a part of the scene, and thank you so much, guys, for that. I also do want to give a huge shout out to our judges as well. We definitely could not do these tournaments without our judges. With over like 500 games, sometimes over one weekend we had 2,800 players. Our judges just do so much to allow for us to, you know, stream the tournament, make it run smoothly, have everyone be able to play their games in a, you know, pretty quick and timely manner. So huge shout out to our judges. They do so much for the scene, and I'm so happy that we have our fantastic judges that we do have, and our fantastic mods who help us whenever there's any types of issues. So I stopped ending your stream while I'm trying to find you guys, because I like to stream people who competed in the tournament. I mean that in a joking way, for the record. But thank you guys so much for being a part of, you know, the competitive scene and supporting this competitive scene in any way that you do it, whether it be talking about the tournaments, playing in the tournaments, being willing to watch the tournaments, and things like that. I really do appreciate it. It does look like there's basically no one who was playing in our tournament earlier that is, you know, streaming right now. So I'm gonna raid someone random from the category. Looks like there's a, you know, in that, I think. It looks like we're gonna try to raid Tilly. We're gonna raid Tilly here. But thank you guys so much for being here and for being a part of this, and I really do appreciate it. And I hope everyone makes sure that they give themselves a huge pat on the back, because it's only because of you guys that we're able to do that. With that being said, I'm gonna wave in 2 seconds, and I'll start knowing when it happens. We do have a delay. If you're new here, hi, I'm Ursiiday. I stream Pokemon Pocket about 6 days a week, so if you're interested in Pokemon Pocket content, check out Navrix's stream, but also don't forget to hit that follow button, and we post on basically every single platform: Instagram, YouTube, Twitter. We're on Twitch. Did I say Instagram? We're trying to make a TikTok. So check